Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, June 28th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll now have an invocation from Pastor Paul Russin from Redemption Hill Calvary Chapel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, City staff, and residents. The book of Proverbs chapter 3 says, "Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, and so find favor and high esteem in the sight of God and man." Father, we lift up tonight's council meeting to you. We thank you for bringing us here. Allow these people to make the decisions that you've called them to make, Father. We pray that they would watch over the public as they were elected to do. Lift up our law enforcement, our firefighters, and all those public safety folks that put their lives on the line for each of us every day. We thank you for all the citizens here, Lord God. Be with them and their needs as well. We just thank you for living in a country that allows us to pray like this in public without fear of reprisal. We thank you for the city of Lake Havasu, and we ask that you bless her tonight in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Go Lake Havasu, Terrence Concannon. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you for all being here. Sure. And thank you for leading us, Terrence. We now will go to item 4, which is the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell. Here. David Lane.
Here.
Michelle Lynn. Here. Cameron Moses.
Here.
Jenny Koch. Here. Vice Mayor Jim Dolan.
Still present.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to item 5, which is the call to the public. This is an opportunity where citizens have to address the City Council with issues within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have 3 minutes. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining, and red means that your 3 minutes is up. Again, we ask that you talk about items just in the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City, and please address the City Council when you make your remarks. If you're here for one of our public hearings, we do suggest that you wait until that period because we can have a two-way conversation during that public hearing. Otherwise, during call to the public, we can listen intently, but since it's not on the agenda, we can't have a two-way conversation. So with that said, anyone that would like to address us at the city call to the public, please go ahead and make your way to the podium. State your name for the record.
Good evening, everybody. City Council, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to go over the same thing I did last time because I didn't think you guys were listening. My name is Frankie Lyons. I'd like to speak on affordable housing. I think we need to have a working definition of affordable housing. The council uses this term to justify rezoning for developers who want to build multifamily complexes, mobile home parks, tiny homes, etc. This is very misleading to talk about these developments if they were in any way going to address the housing shortage for our workers. In fact, they only benefit the developer who are interested in profits. They will attract more second home buyers and short-term rentals to our community, which is already struggling to provide city services in a community that is already built out. Our police, trash, traffic, most importantly, our water cannot continue to function effectively under these circumstances. The definition of affordable housing, according to HUD, is Department of Housing and Urban Development, is housing in which the occupant is paying no more than 30% of gross income, including their utilities. It is very misleading for the general public to refer to affordable housing in any other way. Building more apartments and condos does not address affordable housing. The council has a responsibility to our working class citizens to put their needs before the developer, who sees our city as nothing more than an opportunity to make money at the expense of our working class who are being forced out of our community. Please do not continue to use the term affordable housing unless you are considering all of the points that I've already mentioned. Please consider a partnership with organizations that have the best interests of our community as their mission. They could be your mission, it should be your mission as well. I would like to speak on the discussion that occurred during city council members. Only city council members may participate in discussions only except to council members request clarification of an item on the department head, a member of the advisory board, or a citizen who is making a presentation for one of the agenda items. In simple terms, if you are not a city council member, only speak when spoken to. I have witnessed our city manager initiating a request to speak on several occasions, which is inappropriate. But the last city council meeting, I observed him actually interrupting a council member to offer his opinion. And this is disrespectful and absolutely inappropriate. I have also witnessed city council members responding to citizens during the call to the public. This in time when people are allowed to state their issues and two-way conversations are not allowed. Frequent adds a response to the opinions and should not be happening. I'm requesting that this be addressed and that protocol be followed in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? All right, seeing that, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Item 6 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember
I'd
Lynn?
like to remove 6.3, please.
Okay. Would anyone else like to remove any additional items?
Mayor,
Yes,
make a motion.
please.
And that was 6.3, correct?
Yes.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented minus item 6.3.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Moses.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And now we'll visit item 6.3, which is adopt resolution number 22-3594, designating Lake Havasu Tourism Bureau, Inc., DBA Go Lake Havasu, as the destination marketing organization for Lake Havasu City for the purpose of coordinating tourism promotion with the Arizona Office of Tourism. Ms. Gary?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Arizona Office of Tourism is the official destination marketing organization, DMO, for the state. The Arizona Office of Tourism partners with local DMOs for the purpose of coordinating tourism promotion with the state. The Arizona Office of Tourism, I don't want to use too many acronyms, so sorry, doesn't designate the local DMOs. That has to be done by a municipality or county. And so the city contracts with Lake Havasu Tourism Bureau Incorporated, otherwise known as Go Lake Havasu, to provide tourism and promotion services for the city. Go Lake Havasu meets the requirements of the local DMO, and the Lake Havasu City would like to coordinate our tourism promotion with the Arizona Office of Tourism. And that is the purpose of this resolution.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Gary. Are there any questions, Councilmember Lynn?
Yes, can you tell me right now what is our current contract with Go Lake Havasu? Like what are we are we in a term with them?
What is the term? How many years?
Yeah.
And where are we at
Where are we at?
within
Yes.
that currently? And we also have Mr. Concan, if you want to make your way to the podium. And if you have the answer, we'll look it up in the meantime.
The current contract is a 3-year contract, and we are currently starting, we are 1 year into that contract.
Okay, and then my next question is this resolution that we're designating Go Lake Havasu with, I don't know all these terms here, the AOT, correct?
Yes.
How long is that? Is that forever or?
It used to be annual, but now it's once you make the designation, you don't have to make it again unless you make a change.
Okay.
So it'll
then
be until we change it.
Perfect. And then my last question is, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just curious, if we dissolve a contract with the Tourism Bureau, where does that put this agreement? Because does that put the city in the middle because we were the ones that had to make the recommendation? Does that?
It would just be, we would do another resolution declaring whoever we would like to as the DMO, whether that's the city or if it's another organization, we would simply provide that information to the AOT, and that would be who they would work with directly.
Okay, perfect. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, and the benefit of this resolution is for Lake Havasu City to take advantage of any co-op dollars. We generally use the rural co-op, so other rural communities throughout the state, we get discounted ad buys that are supplemented by AOT's efforts. Are there any other questions of members of the council? This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Yeah. Bonnie, are you looking to make a comment? Okay. Yes.
You have a really crowded room. They didn't show that up on the internet. It's really nice to see all you bright, brand new faces here. Thank you very much for attending.
Yeah, Ms. Toy, they can't hear you at home, so.
And by the way, life is a gift. In case you don't realize that, your every moment is a gift. Thank you. Hello, City Council. I just have a question regarding to this deal, which the question is, did you ever consider other people or other corporations or offices or businesses, whoever it is that does the whole tourism, or did you just, that was it? Did you look at other options?
Yeah, we currently have a contract with Go Lake Havasu. And so the reason we're doing this resolution is so we can take advantage of the co-op opportunities. But until that contract is up, Go Lake Havasu is our official DMO.
Mayor, there are also certain requirements that are required of a DMO. It has to be a non-for-profit organization or governmental unit that's responsible for the tourism promotion and marketing of a destination on a year-round basis. They also have to have proof of a dedicated tourism marketing budget, a website or microsite, and a social media presence. So it would just limit what our options would be as far as who can actually be designated.
Thank you.
Thanks. I was just curious if there were options.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it to council for any discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane?
I move to adopt resolution number 22-3594, designating Lake Havasu Tourism Bureau, Inc., DBA Go Lake Havasu, as the destination marketing organization for the purposes of coordinating tourism promotion with the Arizona Office of Tourism.
Second.
Third.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Moses.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Concanon. All right, we'll move on to item 7, which is correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 7.1 is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. There are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those current and upcoming vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 2 regular members, 3 alternate members. Community Resource Coalition, 5 regular members, 2 alternate members. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, 3 regular members, 1 student member. And the Planning and Zoning Commission, 3 regular members and 2 alternate members. The deadline to submit applications for these current and upcoming vacancies that have been announced was Friday, June 3rd at 5 p.m. However, anyone interested can still submit an application and we will keep it on file in the city clerk's office for up to 1 year. They can find those applications at City Hall and they are also available on the city's website at lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2 is the city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knutson.
All right, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I have a very brief report this evening with everything on the agenda. We'll want to pay special attention to the Lake Havasu City Police Explorer Advisors. They hosted the Heat Explorer Academy at Lake Havasu High School. It was a 1-week program that shows our cadets a small part of law enforcement and demonstrates the importance of operating within a team. The cadets attended a variety of classes that introduced them to law enforcement, provide them with real-world experience with hands-on scenarios. Some of the topics that are covered include high-risk traffic stops, active shooters, canine demonstrations, and defense tactics. The HEAT training is is one of the high stress academies in the state. This does not happen everywhere throughout Arizona. This is very unique to Havasu. And this training is similar to a police academy, only condensed into a week-long course and taught by certified police officers. We are entering into the summer months, and we have some conflicts coming up. So letting everybody know that coffee with the mayor and city manager will be going dark in July and August. And right now, we're looking to pick up that next coffee. It would be on September 9th. However, that there are some conversations that we've had, Mayor, about some advancements in short-term rental legislation and water policy and legislation that might require us to have a meeting between now and then. So stay tuned, and we'll keep the public updated with those conversations. This weekend, we're going to be celebrating Independence Day. So as a reminder, city offices will be closed on Monday, July 4th. Of course, your police and fire departments and their personnel are working hard throughout that holiday weekend. And we'll resume all normal schedules on Tuesday, July 5th. Everybody, please stay safe, respect your neighbors, and enjoy the Independence Day holiday weekend. Mayor and Council, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. We'll move on to item 8, which is our public hearings. We'll start with item 8.1, adopt resolution number 22-3587, appointing members to the Lake Havasu City Board of Adjustment. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, the city received 2 applications requesting consideration for appointment as a regular or alternate member to the Board of Adjustment. These appointments are necessary to fill the current and upcoming vacancies of regular and alternate member positions. As part of our new process, the application review panel conducted interviews for the Board of Adjustment on June 8th and June 13th and recommends that Donald Bergen be reappointed as a regular member and Kate McCullough be appointed as a regular member. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applications were provided in the council packet, and the applicants were also invited or encouraged to attend today's meeting to answer any questions from the City Council.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are there any questions or comments of Ms. Williams from any members of the council or of the applicants? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
Yeah, I move to adopt resolution number 22-3587, appointing Don Bergen as a regular member with a term ending June 30th, 2025, and Kate McCullough as a regular member to the Lake Havasu City Board of Adjustment with a term ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane, and we have a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses? Oh, he said aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, item 8.2 is adopt resolution number 22-3589, appointing members to the Lake Havasu City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, the city received 5 applications requesting consideration for appointment as a member to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. These appointments are necessary to fill the current and upcoming vacancies of regular member positions and 1 student member position. The application review panel conducted interviews for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on June 6th and June 13th and recommends that Shannon Murray, Alex Ross, Philip Shannon, and Alexis Wolf be appointed as regular members, 3 terms ending June 30th, 2025, and 1 term ending June 30th, 2023, and that Natalie Strader be appointed as a student member. And this should have said reappointed. She currently serves as a student member. So reappointed as a student member to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term ending June 30th, 2024. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are there any questions of Ms. Williams?
I do have a question. I remember back in the past, they would come up and at least tell us what they wanted to do. Like we could all interview them ourselves a little bit. I understand the process. I understand what we're doing, but it was kind of nice to be able to see them come up and explain a little bit why they wanted this, unless we want to just keep that behind closed doors.
No, so yeah, there's an interview. We had such great interest from citizens over the last several appointment processes for committees, boards, and commissions. And we were trying to figure out a way that we could have a more in-depth conversation. So our current process is that we meet with the applicants. Kelly Williams, through the clerk's office, schedules a time, either myself or my designee, a member of the council, if there's a council liaison for that particular board, committee, or commission, and then staff liaison would be on the interview panel. We have a more in-depth conversation. It's not much more. It's about 15 minutes in total, but we have the opportunity to meet with all of the applicants. But this evening, we have all of the applicants who are invited, as well as the applications in your packet. So if there's a particular member that you have a question for, would like to meet, or if you'd like to meet all 5 of them, please, that's the prerogative or at the will of the council. So is there anyone in particular you'd like to hear this evening, or?
No, I was just discussing the process. I did enjoy that in the past, where they came up and explained who they are and what they wanted to do. It helps with the interview process, other than just reading it and basing it on staff's recommendation. And we have one board that does not have a liaison, which is the planning and zoning. So that leaves just the staff. And I believe you, Mayor, that I would like to at least see a liaison of some sort to sit on each one of those boards, if we're not even calling them up to have a quick discussion of who they are. So these are topics, if anybody else agrees with me, that they think maybe all the boards should have mayor plus liaison plus city staff, I would appreciate that. And if not, I think moving forward, it would be nice to at least hear a quick statement. They're all here. They've taken the time out to be here. I think it's kind of nice to hear from them.
Sure. And we can start that this evening. I mean, that's not a problem. The process was put in place by us, but we can change it. And if Shannon Murray, are you here this evening? Okay. Alex Ross, and I did not see him. Oh, Mr. Ross, if you could make your way to the podium and just say hello. Yes.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, Councilmember Moses.
What were the recommendations for who they wanted? What were the, 4 names that were staff was recommending on this one?
Yeah, in the legislative text or the council communication, Ms. Williams had indicated that the application review panel is recommending Shannon Murray, Alex Ross, Philip Shannon, and Alexis Wolf to be appointed as regular members. And then our student member would be reappointed Natalie Strader.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Ross, if you'd like to say hello in a few words on why you are interested in serving on this board.
Well, I don't want to take much of your time, but I could talk about myself for quite a while. But been a citizen of Havasu for many years, have business on Main Street. And I think my main purpose in wanting to be a part of the Parks Rec Advisory Board is to bring a voice of Main Street and downtown to parks with the development that's going on down there and so forth. And I have a background with Parks and Rec going back many years when we were first developing the Aquatic Center with Dick Samp and others to get that put into place. So a little history there, but I won't bore you with all that.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Then,
Any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yeah, are there any questions? No?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Philip Shannon?
Hello, I'm Philip Shannon. I'm currently the juvenile probation supervisor for Lake Havasu City for the Mojave County Probation Department. I'm involved in some other community organizations. I was coaching my daughter's Lions soccer team up until about 2 weeks ago. I'm just interested in getting more involved in the community. I'd like to be a voice for parents with younger children that don't have as many resources for their kids in the community.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions, members of the council? Great. Thank you. Thank you for applying. Alexis Wolf? Mm-hmm.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. I'm Alexis Wolf. I'm a private practice mental health counselor here in Lake Havasu City. And now that I have my business under my feet a little bit, I really want to start to get involved more in the community, give back in a more formal way. I do have background with Parks and Recreation. I'm originally from South Bend, Indiana, and during my college years, I worked for the Parks and Rec department in the summers, so doing special events, things like that. I really kind of agree with what the other three people were saying. Parks and Rec is an essential part to mental health and physical health for people in the town, so anything I can do to help enhance that, I'm very interested in. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for applying. Yes. All right. And then I believe Natalie Strader is not with us this evening. Okay. So our student member looking for reappointment was unable to make it with a scheduling conflict. Those are the recommendation of the panel. Did you want to hear from all of the applicants, or there?
There were 5.
Oh, there were just 5 in this particular one. Yes. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Dolan,
I will try to piece this puzzle together. Make a motion.
please.
I move to adopt resolution number 22-3589, appointing Shannon Murray, Alex Ross, and Philip Shannon as regular members with terms ending June 30th, 2025, and Alexis Wolf as a regular member with term ending June 30th, 2023, and appointing Natalie Strader as a student member to the Lake Havasu City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Does that sound right?
Yes. Yeah, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan. We have a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, item 8.3 is adopt resolution number 22-3590, appointing members to the Lake Havasu City Planning and Zoning Commission. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The city received 12 applications requesting consideration for appointment as a regular member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. These appointments are necessary to fill the current and upcoming vacancies. The application review panel conducted interviews for the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 8th and June 13th and recommends that Joan Durzo, Paul Lair, and Chad Nelson be appointed as regular members with terms ending June 30th, 2025, and that Matthew Mitchell and Tiffany Wilson be appointed as alternate members to the Planning and Zoning Commission with terms ending June 30th, 2024. If Paul Lair is appointed, he currently serves an alternate member position, therefore an alternate member position would become available, and the application review panel recommends that Dane Hatch be appointed to fill that alternate member position with a term ending June 30th, 2023, which is the remainder of that term. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applications were provided to you in the packet, and the applicants were also invited to attend the meeting tonight.
Great, thank you. Are there any additional questions before we bring up the applicants? And so, Councilmember Campbell, do you want to hear from the panel review or all 12 applicants?
I would like to hear all the applicants that have taken the time to participate, and yes.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Dennis Simonian. If you just make your way to the podium and let us know why you have an interest in serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and thank you for your application.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm a retired architect, and I just thought I could help out and lend my expertise to the Planning Commission and help improve the built environment of the city. And I don't want to repeat myself, but like I said in our interview, I don't have any agendas other than I realize that a property owner has certain rights to develop their property to the highest and best use within the constraints of the planning and zoning laws. Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your application.
Okay.
Ms. Joan DeZuro. Hello.
Mayor and Council. I'm a retired human resource executive. I know that frightens everyone, but it's did that for 37 years, and I was a planning commissioner in the city of Indio for 4 years. And what I really enjoyed about that was making sure that what the planning commission recommends to the council matches what the citizens have approved in the general plan, and that we make sure we listen to the citizens and what they're looking for, because general plans are good for 10 years, so things can change in that time. We want to make sure we coordinate all that as we make recommendations to you. I so enjoyed that, and I want to do that here in Lake Havasu and make a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
can I-
Councilmember Lynn?
may I ask Joan how long you've been here?
I've been here about a year.
Thank you.
And moved from Phoenix, so I've been in Arizona for a while.
Thank you. All right, Miss Tiffany Wilson.
Good evening. I've been in Lake Havasu for 20 years now. I've started my small business in the early 20 years ago, owned businesses since then, raised my children here. My children are now grown. So my prior early years, I served my industry as far as the Real Estate Association was concerned, the multiple listing service within the Bullhead, Kingman, and Lake Havasu, and was kind of instrumental in making sure that Lake Havasu systems and how we interpret the information to the public through internet or any of the vital information relating to our housing. My kids are grown now, so now it's time for me to get back involved. In the last few years, I've been very involved in development and helping, along with many other people, solve some housing issues here, and just want to be able to provide some help on a city level.
Great. Yeah, thank you. All right, Mr. Mark Hughes. Mr. Paul Ayer.
Honorable Mayor and council members, Paul Lair. I'm currently serving as an alternate on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm a licensed architect. I've been practicing for about 29 years and have thought of Havasu as basically a home base for 40 years. Haven't lived here that length of time, but off and on. I've always, loved this community, and I've found that, serving in the capacity on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that I can help support the community and bring some expertise to that commission, and would like to continue serving in this capacity and providing what I can to help this community.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Donald Bergen.
Good evening. Of my 32 plus years here in Lake Havasu, 24 of them have been with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I make a very important point of whatever the applicant is asking for, the effect upon the immediate neighborhood and how that change would affect the people immediately surrounding him. That's important to me. But I always go out and look at the property ahead of time also. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your many years of service on the commission. Mr. Dane Hatch.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name's Dane Hatch. I'm born and raised in this town. I was born here in 1992. My father, Gary Hatch, he has been a builder, developer in this town my whole life. So I grew up getting to, see residential homes built, commercial built. It was a passion of mine that I kind of picked up and really enjoyed. I don't do it myself, but I always cherished and really love this town, and to see the growth of it, the development of this town has been something very special to me. It's where I live, it's where I reside. So with my knowledge of what my dad has given me over the prior years, I think I'm able to benefit planning and zoning and just help develop Lake Havasu. I have a passion for this town. I have a passion for development and building things, not necessarily building them myself, but being a part of that. I feel many great ideas that can be molded to grow with Havasu as Havasu itself grows. And there's so much growth that has been happening in the last 5 years, and there's going to be so much more upcoming. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be part of planning and zoning. So thank you for the opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Lonnie Stevenson?
Good evening. I'm a 35-year resident of Havasu. Been in the real estate and lending trades for all 35 years, working with Nancy's husband, Chip, out estimating lots back in the good old days when it was lot, house, lot. Just thought I'd brought a unique perspective with the lending side, since that's my current profession, along with the vision and knowing how the city has developed over the years and our challenges moving forward. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Gale?
Good evening. I'm not so qualified as everyone else that showed up. But let's put it this way. In 1979, Bob McCulloch hired me, brought me over from a tiny island in the British Isles, and gave me a job in research and development. And I came to Lake Havasu City to implement the design changes to the chainsaws they were building at that time. On this tiny island is a tax haven between England and Ireland, and the population is about 59,000 people. So having grown up in a small community, one thing you know is everything you do has a consequence. There's a definite impact, and there's a benefit to some, but in some cases, detriment to others. And so I'm retired now, having fun, do some consulting, but I feel it's a privilege to serve, and I'm here with nothing much to do other than consulting. So I thought, let's give this a shot and see if I can be some value. That's all.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gale.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I am currently serving as an alternate member on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I have loved my time there and thoroughly enjoy spending time getting to know our town better. I've lived here for 5.5 years. I'm a young father, and my wife and I have chosen to make this place our home. I'm especially interested to see it continue to grow in healthy ways, which I think I can help make a difference in this role. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And then Ms. McCullough? And Mr. Nelson. All right, that includes the applicants. As you can see, we have a lot of talented people that have signed up and showed their interest to help serve our beautiful community. We're so grateful for all of those that applied. We have a limited number of spots. We had 12 applicants and just a limited number, so the decision is difficult, but the application review panel did meet, and again, the recommendations are for Joan DeZuro, Paul Lear, Chad Nelson as regular members, and Matthew Mitchell and Tiffany Wilson for alternate members. Unless there are any questions, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for questions, comments, or a motion. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, first I want to thank every one of you that came out and applied for these. I'm so impressed with all of them, and that's why I kind of wanted to see your faces and interact with you one-on-one. I'd also like to discuss further bringing another liaison on if that works, so that we have mayor, staff, and at least one liaison for the future. Obviously, this doesn't have anything to do with today. So if anybody else has any discussion, I'd like to come back and make a motion.
Yeah, please go ahead and make a motion.
Okay. My motion is I move to adopt resolution number 22-3590, appointing Paul Lear, Tiffany Wilson, and Chad Nelson as regular members with a term ending June 30th, 2025. Joan DeZuro, and Matthew Mitchell as an alternate member, and adding Vannon Gale as the 1 year ending June 30th, 2023.
All right, do all the members of the council understand the motion? Is there a second? Without a second, would any other council members like to make a motion?
Can I ask Ms. Campbell a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Councilmember Lynn?
It's hard. There's so many names on here. So can somebody tell me exactly where we're moving names around here?
What was the question? So
Tell me what the difference is what staff is recommending and what she's recommending.
Okay, so let me start over on this process. So this is not a staff process at all. This is
That motion failed. And it's okay, we can make it again. It just has to be seconded before we can have discussion about it.
Okay, second.
And that's, okay. Oh, you seconded. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Okay, so these aren't staff recommendations. These are the application review panel recommendations, which included a process that this council put in place to interview applicants because we're having such amazing talent come through our community. And so that we could have a due process with a conversation with these applicants about what is going to be in their best interest. We set it up this way, and that's the way. If we want to change it going forward, that's fine. But these aren't staff recommendations. But
I apologize.
The recommendation, the difference with the motion that Councilmember Campbell made and that you seconded, Councilmember Lynn, would be moving Ms. Tiffany Wilson from an alternate member to a regular member. It would be moving from the recommendation of the interview panel, Joan DeZuro from a regular member to an alternate member. It would also move Mr. Hatch off of the recommendation from the interview panel and putting on Mr. Gale.
And when you say that this is not staff recommendations, will you please explain again who was sitting in with these applicants? I know you were mayor.
Yes, so
And
the
it was who?
application came through. I was on the panel as well as Mr. Morris, who is the staff liaison with planning and zoning, and Mr. Tuneman, the development services director.
So it's mayor and two staff members that
We're in the
reviewed
room, yes.
this.
As well as every council member has had this packet since
Right,
Thursday.
that's
with
why I'm
applications.
making a
Yes.
recommendation for a slight change.
Yeah, I'm answering Councilmember Lynn's process. I just want to make sure it's not a staff recommendation, it's the panel's recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have a motion and we have a second. If we could make the screens reflect appropriately, and we can go ahead and vote. That would be Councilmember Campbell.
Oh,
if you
sorry.
could. Thank you. And Councilmember Lynn.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Moses.
Nay.
Motion fails 2-5.
All right, do we have an additional motion?
Mr. Mayor, I will. And before I make the motion, I want to make it clear, we weren't voting against the people.
No.
We truly appreciate the fact that so many people have applied. It's just that as a council, we put a process in place. And we had in-depth interviews with that panel. And so there's no sense having a panel and having these people come in and spend time at City Hall meeting with the mayor and with that staff if we're not going to follow those recommendations. And that was the reason I voted no, not because anything against any of the people that had applied. So with that, I will move to adopt resolution number 22-3590, appointing Tiffany Wilson, appointing Joan DeZuro, Paul Lear, and Chad Nelson. I want to start over. I move to adopt resolution number 22-3590, appointing Joan DeZuro, Paul Lear, and Chad Nelson as regular members with terms ending June 30th, 2025, and Matthew Mitchell and Tiffany Wilson as alternate members with terms ending June 30th, 2024, and Dane Hatch as an alternate member to the Lake Havasu City Planning and Zoning Commission with a term ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Lane, a second from Councilmember Koch. Is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, my additional discussion would be I'd like to recommend going, after this process, I'd like to go back to the way we were before, because it sounds like it's down to 3 people making these decisions for all these very, very important boards. And I feel at this point that my voice is not even, or any of the extra council members are not going to be heard. It's kind of, this is the policy, this is what we're doing. I also vetted all the candidates and spent quite a bit of time with them myself. And so I'd like to be able to go back to recommending it the way we used to do it. That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, we can review that. Is there any additional discussion? All right, we are ready to vote. So the screen will reflect it. Councilmember Moses?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you, and congratulations to the applicants, and thank you again so much for all of the interest. We had amazing applicants to choose from. We are going to go on to the next board, and we have even more applicants for that board. So item 8.3 is adopt resolution number 22-3590. Oh, excuse me, we're going to go to 8.4, adopt resolution number 22-3588, appointing members to the Lake Havasu City Community Resource Coalition. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The city received 17 applications requesting consideration for appointment as a member to the Community Resource Coalition. These appointments are necessary to fill the open positions of 5 regular and 2 alternate member positions. The application review panel conducted interviews for the Community Resource Coalition on June 15th and recommends that Kristen Mann, Don Klostermeyer, Ashley Pasquale, Vijay Sari, and Barbara Smith be appointed as regular members, and Jamie Festa Daigle and Leslie Denny be appointed as alternate members to the Community Resource Coalition. Members will serve until the coalition dissolves upon the final disbursement recommendation to the City Council. All 17 applications were provided to you in your council packet, and the applicants were also invited to attend the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And for this is a new board that is set for a very specific need, and through council action, the applicant review panel was myself, Councilmember Lynn, and then we also had Ms. Trina Ware from our Financial Services Department and a representative from the clerk's office to coordinate that for us. So that's what the applicant review committee consisted of. This one, we'll go ahead and start in the order. Not all of these applicants are here, but if you are here, if you'd please just make your way to the podium and introduce yourself. We have Mr. Robert Feliciano, Sandra Desamarte. I've never called you by your last name, so I'm sorry about that. But
Hi, I'm Sandra DeMarto, and I came here 27 years ago as a single mother and raised my daughter by myself, and now she's raising her children by herself here. So I understand the importance of having good resources within this town and within our community. I had worked for Goodwill and volunteered with our homeless events. I had worked for mile markers and have worked with our children and our young adults with disabilities. And currently I'm working for Mojave Community College as our community education coordinator. So I'm very familiar with the resources and what the needs are of our community.
Excellent. Thank you. And then Miss Susan Kokkonen. Mr. Boyd.
Mayor and council members, my name is Edward Boyd, but I go by Ted. I've been in public service most of my adult life. I spent 30 years as a career firefighter. I've seen all aspects of society. I tried to understand all aspects of society. What I think I could bring to this board is some objectivity in decision-making and some fiscal responsibility when making recommendations to the city council. Also, I'd like to look at certain requests and make sure they're not covered by other city services. So I've only been in Havasu about 2.5 years. I feel time to give back to the city I love. We'll take any questions from the city council at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Are there any questions? All right, thank you for your application. Ms. Denny?
Council. Leslie Denny, and I've lived here for 23 years. I worked for the federal government and got transferred here from Mississippi. Worked with the public for most of my life. I currently work as a chairperson for the Calvary Benevolence Team, and we, of course, help the public with their personal needs, whether it's utilities, rent, auto repairs, and things like that. And we also give out gas and food vouchers. And I just want to help to continue and use this coalition money to reach more people than what we get through Calvary itself. I think the public really needs to be aware of what the government has afforded the city, and I'd like to be a part of that, and I am an alternate. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Denny. Ms. Vestadagel? Mr. Giles? Ms. Millay? Ms. Smith, I believe, is on online. Okay, Barb Smith, can you hear us? Ms. Smith?
Yes, Mayor.
Oh,
yes,
perfect.
Mayor. Can you hear me?
We can
Thank
now,
you.
yes. If you could just introduce yourself and let us know why you would like to serve on this board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I am extremely proud to have been chosen as a member of this board. I've lived in Lake Havasu City for 32 years. As a small business owner, I also worked for the public school system in Lake Havasu as the principal's assistant at Lake Havasu High School. I have watched our city grow over these years. I have watched the needs of our city come to different terms over the years. What worked 20 years ago doesn't work today. I see overlapping of many funds, many institutions, and we all need to work together. This is a chance for the city to give back. These funds were provided to us so that we can help make a significant difference for the long haul. I am very excited about this commission and the work that we are about to do. And I thank you for considering me and choosing me for this position.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mr. Olson? Dr. Mann? Ms. Sari?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Vijat Sari. I have lived in Lake Havasu City since 2004. I have 18 years of experience in government and nonprofit work. 11 of those years has been in case management within Lake Havasu City, Mojave County, La Paz County, across city lines, state lines. I have volunteered many years to multiple organizations in Lake Havasu City. I lead the Achieve 60 Lake Havasu City Hub, which works to increase educational attainment in Lake Havasu City. I want to serve on this committee because I believe that I have many skills that I can give to the community, including writing extensive experience in writing scopes of work, handling implementation plans, and being financially responsive to community needs.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Ms. Striley? Ms. Wolf?
Hello again. Again, thanks for having me here. If I understand what transpired, I believe I was approved for the Parks and Recreation Board. So it sounds like you have some great candidates for this commission. So I would like to respectfully withdraw my application for this commission at this time. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Klostermeyer?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Don Klostermeyer. I have been here over 32 years. I am presently 100% employed at Calvary Baptist Church. And my ministries is to go out to feed the homeless, to touch people's lives, to touch addicts, the abused. And what we're seeing in our city, because we see the growth, is these things are rising. But what's happening is our facilities are not growing. For instance, if you had someone that was abused today and tried to call to put them in there, It is full. It is packed. We have no place to send the addicted, the drug people out here, and we see it growing. We have to send them to Kingman, send them to Bullhead. I can go on and on with different things, and I think that these monies that are coming in, for example, let's use one more thing, the food bank. The food bank is getting the same amount of food, but they're running out of food. And so there's a big need here in this town that a lot of us do not see, and it's growing, and we can't just hide it and put it at Rotary Park or something. These things are growing. We see it every day. I help these people every day. And my whole thing is to join this thing is be able to allocate these funds to places that need it and the places that I work with. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your
Plain and
application.
simple. Thank you.
And then Ms. Pasquale. All right, that concludes the 17 applications that we interviewed. Again, they did interview with the interview review panel, which consisted of myself, Councilmember Lynn, and Ms. Ware from our finance department. The recommendation from the interview review board is Dr. Mann, Mr. Klostermeyer, Ms. Pasquale, Ms. Sari and Ms. Smith to be appointed as regular members, and Ms. Vesta-Daigle and Ms. Denny to be appointed as alternate members to the Community Resource Coalition. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium, state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Stacy Lee, and I'm embarrassed to say, with all these people that have been here forever, I am a member of this city now as of 6 months ago. I'm very new. I missed my application by 2 days to apply for this council. I am requesting or asking in the future to please open up, because I know that this is a new coalition, for a spot for a veteran representative on that council. I know that we have a very large amount of veterans in this city. And I feel that with this council, this would be a great place to represent them and their needs as well. So my bad for forgetting to get the application on time. I had just found out about it, so I missed it by 2 days. But I'm hoping in the future that we can open that up so that we have a voice for the veterans, and that is a very large community here in Lake Havasu, to make them a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Lee. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Vice Mayor Dolan?
I'd like to make a motion, but I'd also like to make a comment. We have it in place. We've done this before. It gets chaotic. We get 5, 10 great people, and for us to go through the applications and to have that personal where we can do the personal interviews. So we as council chose to set up this so they could spend the time, interview them, ask the questions, also have the staff be there that's running the committees as well. So I think we as a whole put that onto them. And so for me to go against that I thank everyone for coming up, but pretty much what everybody said was what I read in their application. And I believe all of us have gone through all the applications and do take this extremely serious. And so I just don't like the fact that we're maybe implying that, well, the staff or the mayor or one of the council members is not doing their job. We asked them to do this job, and unless I can say I think this person's way more qualified for this reason or that reason, I don't have a reason to go against that recommendation because I wasn't that person in the room. So I just feel as a council member, we have to trust those people that we asked to go in that room, or we shouldn't have them go in the room in the first place. So, and also I do get a little frustrated sometimes that it's staff. Well, the staff made that recommendation. The staff run the city. I don't know if people have the misconception of that we don't run the city, we just oversee aspects of it, but it is the staff, and I think it's sometimes disrespectful that we, when they they just made that recommendation. Yes, we pay them to do that, and I think we need to show them that respect. So with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion. I move to adopt resolution number 22-3588, appointing Kristen Mann, Don Klostermeyer, Ashley Pasquale, Vijay Sari, and Barbara Smith as regular members, and Jamie Vesta-Daigle and Leslie Denny as alternate members to the Lake Havasu City Community Resource Coalition.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan and a second from Councilmember Koch. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hit the motion button.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And again, thank you to all of the applicants that spent your time arranging. I know that the schedules are tight to get here and interview and all of that process, for being here this evening and for your commitment to serve our great community. We appreciate it on all of the boards, committees, and commissions. Now moving on to item 8.5 is our truth and taxation hearing and public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2022-23 property tax levy. Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. This is the opportunity for council to conduct the taxation hearing in the hope that we will solicit public testimony related to the property tax levy that is being proposed. The property tax rate is not changing. It will remain flat. However, we will collect more property taxes based upon the fact that there was an increase in assessed valuation that we were given by the county. The property tax revenue is used to help fund the city's basic services, for instance, police, fire, parks, and much of the streets budget. And then of a person's total tax bill, only 6.7 cents of every dollar paid by Lake Havasu City property owners actually go to the city as part of our revenue. So staff is recommending that council conduct this hearing and solicit the public testimony and move forward from there.
Excellent. Okay, so this truth and taxation item is part of state statute. So we're holding this as part of our budget conversations. The council has been engaged in budget conversations since February. I know many of you have been here through many of those hearings. Staff has been involved for several months prior to that as they prepare and get these items together. So this is something we're doing to meet the statutory requirements. We also had the truth and taxation reporting in the newspaper as well that identified these pieces of information. Are there any comments, questions, or thoughts from members of the council before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan.
There's just some key points I think I want to point out. I know there's been some concern in the community that we're raising taxes, we're raising property taxes. We as a council are not raising any taxes. We're not raising the levy rate. It is Mojave County and the assessor's office that determine the values of the houses, and because our houses are going up, property taxes also go up. Like I said, the city is 6.7% of your property tax bill. So I think this slide is very good to show, like I said, we are not raising the tax. We've kept it since, do you know how long since we've had this rate?
Several years,
Yeah,
at least 5 or 6.
Since I've been on council, we have not raised the rate at all. So I just think people need to take that into consideration. So it's not a tax rate increase.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council in this matter? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Yeah, Morgan Braden. I think most of you know me here. I'm running for city council, and I want to tell you, in my conversations with talking to people in order to run for the city council position, one of the highest things I hear from people, especially the large amount of retirees we have in this town, they feel they're taxed to death. They really do. They're having trouble making ends meet just with, not just property taxes. I understand we can't control gas prices and food prices and medicine prices, but they are stretched to the limit. Now, explain to me real quick. You had mentioned, Cal Shee mentioned to me a few minutes ago that it's not an increase. However, one tax is going away, correct? What is that tax?
Yeah, so the IDD, or the Irrigation and Drainage District, which was the very first quasi-government that Mr. McCulloch set up all those years ago, is expiring on June 30th. So that will be a $5.7 million property tax cut for property owners across Lake Havasu City.
Correct. And what was notified in the paper is to replace that, is the way I kind of understand what you just told me a few minutes ago.
No, what we're having right now, this is a truth and taxation hearing about our levy rate, which is 0.6718 cents per $100. That remaining the same every 5 years. As Vice Mayor Dolan had mentioned, the assessed value based on the assessor's valuation of property.
Well, all our
has increased.
property taxes are going up a little bit.
Yes.
Because
of the assessment.
my house went up $140,000 in value, and I bought it 4 years ago. Now I know it's capped at a 5% increase, as the way I understand it when I talk to the county. But immaterial, what it said in the paper was that tax rate that is 4 point something dollars per $100 or $1,000 value would be added on somehow. Can you explain that?
I don't know what you're referring to specifically. What Lake Havasu City published for our truth in taxation is 0.6718 cents per $100,000 of value. There's other taxing authorities on your tax bill.
I'm aware of that.
So there may
I'm
have been
talking
another,
about just the city stuff.
Yeah, there may have been another truth in taxation form you're talking about. So ours would have said 0.6718 per $100 of assessed value.
Okay. Well, what I encourage you all to do, and I will do once I'm elected to the council, I don't want to see any more taxes at all applied that we don't necessarily need. We have other sources of income. One of the problems you're going to run into is the front page paper, last Sunday's paper. Well, $3 million extra came in to Lake Havasu City. Now, I understand that was from the tourist department, which was way up, and I understand the rest of it was down, but it's still a plus. And the way the people of this city look at it is we got a lot of money right now, and we need to be careful on adding any more into their requirements, even if it's the water department or the sewer department. We got to be careful on that kind of stuff because we have a tremendous amount of retirees, again, in this city that are having trouble making ends meet. And I would encourage no taxes now or in the future unless it's absolutely necessary to do it, or we're going to run a lot of our people out of town, including me. I'm on a fixed income, but not on a fixed income. Long story. But I will be in that position very, very quickly. And I want to make sure I can stay living here in the town I love and why I want to serve on the city council. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify on the comments we made too, is we sometimes forget that, so we raise the 5.6 million or now 5.9 million from the property taxes. Most of our actual revenue comes in from sales tax. So, but sales tax is also inflation proof for most sects. So things you bought for $5 that you're paying tax on, now you're paying $6. So our revenue is going up, and we do have quite an increase in 3 million. But the one thing you'll also see too is in a lot of the projects we're doing, for the aquatic center, for example, we have a $2 million air conditioning that now comes in at $3 million. So just to kind of keep that in mind, we're not loaded with money. We have a revenue increase, but we're also having a expense increase as well, as is everybody else. Everything we buy is going up and is hyperinflation. And, we fuel our fire trucks and our police cars many times a day as well. So all of that is going up. And so that also eats into that $3 million. So it's just to keep that in perspective. So thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the council on this item?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Cindy Johnson, and I am a resident here in Lake Havasu City. My concern is the assessed value of our homes right now. We know that they've all gone up, and we also know that there's going to be a point where the bottom drops out of all this madness. Because it's crazy right now, the value and what property is selling for. So I'd like to know, are we going to be getting a refund on our taxes when our assessment values are a lot less?
Yeah, so if the values go down, and it would depend on the rate and what that rate looks like, but should the rate remain as it's proposed for this year, yes, your payment would go down as well. But that would be in future budget years. This current budget year, the rates stay the same.
But we've seen this happen before. We've seen the bottom fall out of things, and that's coming.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
And the assessed value would take into account.
And that's also to clarify too, that's also the county supervisors, they make those decisions. The assessor's office is through the county. So that's not necessarily a city issue. We don't have anything to do with the valuations. That's a county issue. And I encourage people to also go to their meetings as well. So, but that's a different jurisdiction than us. So, but yes, I'm also concerned with those values going up, and do they get readjusted as things change, as we saw in 2008, for example. So, but that's a different government entity. So.
And Mayor, just to comment on that, I believe that there has been some freeze that you can get as a senior, that you could probably reach out to your county assessors and ask for more information about that. I don't know if seizing it right now would be a good idea. I don't know. I don't have a glass ball and can't tell you what the future is going to look like. But if you are concerned about some of these things, please reach out to your county assessor. They do have some programs that you might be interested in.
Yeah, would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter?
Good evening, all of you. Thank you so much for letting me talk. My name is Dawn McElwain. I've been here for 17 years. I have some real concerns as well as the property increases around here for taxes. As some people have mentioned about us being on a fixed income, Ms. Matt Campbell, I'd like first to address that with you about you saying there are programs available. There is a program available if you're a senior and you can get your property taxes capped as long as you don't make over $30,000 a year. And that's based on a 3-year period of time. For us newly retired people who planned on having my budget where it is, I don't qualify. And I don't think that's fair. My concern that I have here is that we're in a pressed time where everybody in this town is suffering with their gas prices being what they are, with our increase in our groceries. All across the land, we're hearing about how bad it is. This is not a time to increase our taxes by any means. You have a huge surplus that's coming in from other states that's part of people who come here for vacation. And I'd like to know from any of you, what other resources are you tapping? Are you tapping the BRBs? Because they're huge in this city. Mm-hmm. Are they being taxed as much as what our hotels are?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know who the BRBs even are?
Yeah, they are required by state law to register. And so that is, they have to register with the Department of Revenue. There is a bill that just passed the legislature last week. We're waiting for the governor to sign it that will allow it to happen at a local level. So right now we rely on state data.
Can I clarify that question too? Yes. The answer is no. We have no control over vacation rentals. That's a state issue. They've completely pulled that away from us. We're trying to get it back. It's quite a joke in the whole process, the little stuff we get, but we have absolutely no control in that. So there are a lot of vacation rentals that do follow the rules. They are paying the taxes. Those that are not paying the city taxes. There's nothing we are allowed to do as at the state. The governor and the state legislature has completely taken that away from us. And I'm also very frustrated with that, but that is a concern that I hope we're also talking to our state legislatures with as well, because they've taken that we can't do anything. We're not allowed to treat them as a business or anything. So.
Well, I have a concern about our new developments, about the housing that you guys have already approved, about our electricity going down, about our water being a concern. Why are we not looking at some of these issues or not talking about them too, especially as a new development? How many new houses have we developed in the last 2 years? Why are they not being overly taxed instead of people who've been here for years?
Yeah, everyone's paying, this is a truth in taxation hearing, so everyone would be paying the same levy rate per $100 of assessed value. And again, the rate has not changed for 5 years. We're not proposing a tax rate increase.
Actually, but it is being increased. How can you say it's more like a play on words? You're definitely increasing your taxes.
Yeah, so
you're increasing our property taxes, which increases my impound account, which increases my house payment.
Yeah, so the assessed value based on this change citywide is $248,000 in additional taxes that all property owners collectively will pay based on the assessed valuation fluctuation from the prior year. But the rate is remaining the same.
Did you not increase your taxes last year?
No, the rate's been the same for 5 years.
But my property taxes went up last year. Am I the only one?
Based on assessed value. So your assessed value may have changed. Yeah, your assessed value changes.
So our value changed.
And
so our taxes went up. What happened to the money that was taxed last year?
That was used in last year's budget.
Okay, and so maybe we need to relook at your budgets, because I don't know where the money goes. Is there something that's printed out in the newspaper where all your money goes when you get it? Because
Correct.
The $3 million surplus that came in from tourism, which we know will be extensively more this year because of our gas prices being what they are. Most people don't travel very far now. Seems to be we're the vacation capital of the world. You're already struggling with getting people to work here. We're already struggling with our businesses being able to stay afloat because we can't find people to work because they don't have housing to come here and live because they can't afford it. So now's not the time to tax people more.
Again, the rate's remaining the same.
The rates only remain the same as far as what you're taxing, but due to our property values going up,
Correct.
you're still going to get a higher tax base. We have more people now than we had here a year ago.
Yes.
By what, 5,000, maybe more? You're looking at another 1,000, another 90 mobile homes that are coming out? How about what we still have fixing to develop? The change in zoning that was allowed at the hospital where you have more residential property coming in? I have real concerns, the fact
Sure.
that I think that's something that the council needs to relook at having an increase of any kind at this point in time, with the inflation being what it is, and with everything being predicted, we're going to have a recession on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, if
Yeah,
I may.
Councilmember Lane?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple other things. As you can see up there on the board, when you ask where does your property taxes go, only 6.7 cents of every dollar you're paying on your property taxes actually comes back to the city. You have the Mojave County College District that takes money. You have the school district that takes money. You have the county district that takes money. You have the flood control district that takes money. The city itself is only taking 6.7 cents out of every dollar. We are keeping our tax rate the same. Does that mean that some assessed value is going to go up? Yes. If you look at this, it's a total of $300,000 across the board. But we're also doing away with the IDD this year, which we no longer will have. That's $5.7 million of your property taxes that we will not be collecting. That you will be keeping. So if you take a look at overall of the property taxes that you're paying, the amount collected by the city is going down significantly. I know for me, it's $145 a year for that property tax for the IDD that I will never pay again. And so to have my assessed value go up by $2.85 for every $100,000 my home's been assessed, I'm coming out way ahead myself. So we are actually doing everything we can to lower the taxes, and we're not raising the tax rate. We're just keeping it exactly the same. If your property values went down and your assessed value went down, the amount of tax you pay is going down. And to the other lady's comment, if the assessed values go down, are you going to be paying less in taxes? Yes, you are. And that happened in 2008. And people paid less in property taxes. But I can't, unless you're on the microphone, it's hard for them to hear. I'm just bringing up, when you asked where your tax dollars went for your city property taxes, I just wanted to clarify, the city, when you pay your city property taxes, the city isn't the one that's keeping all that money. We're only keeping 6.7 cents out of every dollar.
2 points to what you said, though.
Sure.
You talked about the college funds.
Mm-hmm.
This city benefits from the money that's coming from Mojave County for that. They have colleges here. We talk about some of the other things, our school districts, other things that's coming in from the county. The city benefits from that. It doesn't come out of the 6.7, so you do get extra money from the county for it.
Those are different political subdivisions, so those
I
are elected
understand that.
bodies.
I'm just talking about that there are funds coming in from the county other than just our property taxes to fund certain things that you do benefit from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just clarifying where your property
And the second
taxes
thing is that
actually go to.
when it was reassessed in 2008, it wasn't an automatic. You had to call the county and request it. So I just want everybody to know that if you want your taxes to go down because your property values go down, it's not automatic. You have to call the county and request it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, clarification. You mentioned that the VRBOs are already being taxed at corporate rates. I thought that was in the process. I thought they were working on that through. Is that correct?
From a sales tax perspective, they pay the 3% bed tax and the 2% city sales tax.
But I understand that the county assessor right now is looking into considering VRBO property as corporations or company.
Yeah.
But again, it's not in place right now, correct?
Yeah, that's property
And at that
taxes.
time, maybe when that happens, when and if it does happen, maybe we can look at reducing these rates down a little bit as assessments go up. You guys made some really great valid points.
Would anyone else like to address the council on this matter? Yeah, please.
My husband and I have been here since 93.
If you could just state your name. Sorry, state your
Barbara
name.
Schaefer.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara.
Okay. We've been here since 93. We raised our 2 boys here. We have nieces and nephews here and grandkids here and all sorts of wonderful things. Anyways, we built a home out in Crystal Beach. We bought the property when I became disabled. And we built the home. solar, septic, and solar. Where'd my husband go? Anyways, solar. Anyways, we're pretty self-sustained out there. And when we bought the property and we built the house, it was at a lower price. And because I am disabled, I was allowed to get a disabled reduction in my property taxes. And since then, our property values have skyrocketed. We are both on Social Security, fixed incomes. Because I am disabled, even if we sold the home, there is no place that we could go that would accommodate for my disability. And it seems like if you're gonna, it's not our fault that the property values went up, but there is a place where you can do something about our property values for being taxed on them. We couldn't reach the cap. Like she said, the 30,000, we couldn't do that because both my husband and I had really good jobs. So our Social Security was a pretty good income. But it's getting to the point where we go to the grocery store and it's like, I can't even afford the things that I normally would have bought because I can't afford it. This increase on what I thought that I was going to be able to live the rest of my life here and enjoy what I had as a home. And I'm being taxed out of my own home. This to me is it's robbery. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Your property in Crystal Beach is in the county, so this won't impact you.
I know that, but it still affects what you do here versus what we get out there because my husband's on the board.
Yeah, if you get to the microphone, just so folks at home.
It still affects what you do here, what goes on out there. Because I know that Jeannie does her, Ms. Ketch, sorry, your county assessor, she does her evaluations accordingly, based on, who lives where and what you got and what you don't got. And so, eventually it's going to be part of our problem as well, but it still is part of our problem.
Our property tax in Lake Havasu City will never be part of your problem. So it just doesn't. This is for Lake Havasu City property owners, not
and I got that, but we're still being taxed on our property values, not what we bought it for and what we intended it to be for.
From the county, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're still in the same boat that we are. It doesn't matter if we're way out there versus you're in here. And I get that.
Okay.
But I know what they're feeling because I'm feeling it out there too because my property values have just skyrocketed. And that's not what we expected out there. So.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Lynn, did you have a comment?
Mr. Mayor, I think that when we're talking about this, we're escalating this number. If I'm calculating this right, if your house is $100,000 and your taxes are $64.33, they're going to go up to $67.18, correct? That's it. It's going to go up $2.85.
That's per $100. So on the annual tax on a home with assessed value of $100,000 would be $285. So it's $285 times if it's $300,000 value or what.
So you're only going up $2.85 on 100. Then are you doubling that at $5.70 if it's a $200,000? Is that what we're doing? Is that how that works? Right? I mean, if you're looking at a $500,000 house, you're paying an extra $14.25, correct? So we're not talking about, thousands of dollars. We're talking about $14 and a $500,000. That's on a year. That's annual, correct?
Correct.
That's all we're talking about on a $500,000 house, increasing it to $14.25. Mm-hmm. So $14 right now is nothing. It's $14.25 a year. Okay, so I have a second. I have a second question then.
Yes.
I'm hearing what you're saying. If we didn't approve this, could Jill maybe tell us what that looks like? Like, what does that look like if the council decided that we're going to listen to what the people have to say that are here and didn't approve that? What does that look like?
Then we would need to go back to the budget and make a reduction in our expenditures, what we can spend our funds on in the total amount of the $388,000.
And that would be, I'm sorry. And that would be in the police, fire, parks, and streets.
Yes, primarily.
So,
Not streets, the HERF dollars are
oh,
for streets.
I'm sorry, I'm seeing I'm seeing on the screen, police, fire, parks, and streets. Sorry, that's what I see
Yeah,
on the
some
screen.
streets maintenance,
Yeah.
but
So
for
all I'm saying, I'm hearing what you're saying, but if you have a $500,000 house and it costs you $14.25, you have a $400,000 house and it's $11.40 to help us with our infrastructures of police, fire, parks, and not streets then. To me, isn't that a fair trade? We're not talking thousands, we're talking anywhere from $2.85. Nobody's got a $100,000 house, so let's start at $8.55 to $14.25. That's what you're paying extra for those type of services. Or we can decrease those type of services to save everyone $8.55, $11.40, $14.25. I'm just trying to do the math in my head, but I'm hearing what you're saying. That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Mr. Diaz or Ms. Toy?
So this is an emotional thing for a lot of people, and I listen to everybody talking. So and this truth in taxation, city property tax, has turned into an umbrella of a bunch of other conversation. But this is why it's so important to vote come the 2022 at the primary and November 8th. Because all this inflation everyone's talking about, where Michelle's right on the money, it's not that much money, $14, $8. But all the other stuff we have to put up with, because what's going on in our country, it does mean a lot. It does affect everybody. Houses have gone up in price. And that's a good thing. We live in a capitalist society. You know, we complain when they go down, then we complain when they go up. So it's like, well, what do we want?
Mr. Diaz, I need to address the council on your comments. So
sorry.
Yes.
So I get emotional about this because it's important. So all the things you're talking about make sense. Vote, and let's get that information to the people that win the primary, especially on a state and a federal level, and a lot of these issues are going to go away, because I don't like paying $5 for gas, and I don't like spending $140 for 2 bags of groceries. And then these types of things, like Michelle just mentioned, $8 or $14 isn't really going to affect you that much if you're honest with yourself. But it's an issue right now because the inflation in our country is horrible. 40 plus 50-year highs.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Choi?
Yes, I actually think my question was addressed by Ms. Lynn. I believe my question was going to be, how would you reduce it? My question was going to be asking about the possibilities, or what happens if you reduce the property tax. I don't understand that part of the whole situation, and I think Ms. Lynn addressed most of that.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? Yeah, Ms. Schaefer, you get just one opportunity at the microphone. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, real quick, you only get one opportunity at the microphone, so.
I have a question to the person who does the figuring in her head. I do have one question. I'm a member of the American Legion Auxiliary E-Board, and we do a lot of fundraising, for the city, the fire, parks and recs, all of that. When you do your numbers and everything, do you take any of that into consideration for the money that's raised? Or is that just kind of a private kind of catch-all? They got the extra fire hoses that were needed, or, some of that stuff. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, if there's grants or donations that are made to the city from organizations in our community, those have to be in our budget. So those are accounted for in our budget numbers.
Okay, yeah, because I know like Walmart will give like a large umbrella, towards the police department, fire department. We do a lot of fundraisers to go to some of that stuff. So
yeah, financial contributions are included in the budget.
And into
certainly.
that figure. Okay.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
All right, would anyone else like to address the council during this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close. Oh, yeah, Mr. Gates?
I just actually had a question about how these numbers connect to each other. So it
says 6.7 cents of every dollar paid by Lake Havasu City property owners goes to the city, but the levy rate is 0.6718. Are those two? There's not funny math here, right? Those are connected, but they're not the same number.
They're connected, yeah.
But they're not the same number.
They're not the same number, but they're connected.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Something else that I just want to put out there that, I mean, you guys are just up here taking a beating for this, and clearly nothing's changing. So my opinion is that this is fine. I'm happy that our values are up. I think that most of the townspeople are. I've offered this for my entire life, and I'll just put it out here that maybe it's something you guys can share with people when you're having conversations. I'm very happy to help anybody not have their taxes go up if they would like to just stop the value of their house where it is, and I'll pay the difference in the tax until they decide to sell it, as long as I get the difference in the increase of value. We'll fix that problem.
Yeah.
We got a giver in the room.
All right. Would anyone else like to address the council? All right, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing, bring it back to council for any additional discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor Dolan?
I just want to point out too that this is also a county issue. The $30,000 limitation, that's something that the county could address too if you guys were to approach them. That's something, just like there's things we can change in our ordinances and updates we can do, that's something they can do. So it might make sense to lobby to them to have that may be a rate that's very low and needs to be updated. So that'd be something maybe to take up, with the county directly. So we don't actually make a motion on this,
we do.
correct?
This is an item that does need a motion.
Okay.
But this is the suggested one
Don't we go to a special meeting to do that?
for that. Truth and taxation.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because I don't see any. Alrighty. There's no suggested action on my computer, so see if I can read it from here. I move to approve the levy of the proposal fiscal year 2022-23 property tax and to assess the levy at the July 12th, 2022 City Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan, a second from Council Member Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? All right, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, thank you. All right, item 8.6 is adjourned to special meeting. I don't need a motion for that. Okay, we're just, this is against state statutes, part of the budgetary process, so we're gonna adjourn to a special meeting. Welcome to our special meeting. And we're gonna move on to item 8.7. And item 8.7 is adopt resolution number 22-3593, adopting the fiscal year 2022-23 final budget. Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. As we have somewhat discussed in the last item, this is the point at which we are proposing to adopt the FY 22-23 budget. It's been a 10-month process. We have covered a lot of ground between last fall and now. Council has had several meetings specific to the budget process and the capital improvement plan. Council adopted the capital improvement plan at the June 14th council meeting and also adopted the tentative budget, which set the maximum that our allocation could be in the budget overall. So tonight, staff is bringing forward the adoption of the final budget along with the property tax hearing. And then on July 12th, we will adopt the property tax levy. The tentative budget, after you adopted it, was published in the paper as required by law. Again, as a reminder, we can reduce the amount of the final budget to a number that's less than the tentative budget, but we cannot increase the amount higher than what was adopted with the tentative budget. Staff has not proposed any changes to the budget since the tentative budget adoption by council on June 14th. The maximum total budget is $225,766,868. Again, property tax information identical to what we just discussed in the last item, except that we are reflecting the two small improvement districts that allow for funding for those districts for maintenance purposes. And the levy amounts are listed there on the screen. So those are small dollar amounts, but they do contribute to that maintenance of those properties or property areas. And with that, we'll answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Olson. So those two special districts, taxing districts, one is the McCulloch Median Project. So when that median was put in Wheeler Park all those years ago, that's a tax assessment on those properties in that area that pay for the maintenance and upkeep, as Ms. Olson mentioned. And then the other one is the London Bridge Plaza, where the swap meet is at, maintains the parking lot facilities and also the restroom facilities that are improved in that area. And those were both brought forward by the property owners in that area during that time. So each year during the budget process, we have those levies as well for those particular properties. So this budget, as Ms. Olson mentioned, does encompass the entire operation for the city. Has a lot of different components to it. It does have the IDD expiration, so that's that $5.7 million in property tax deduction. The tax rate remains the same as we talked about in our last items. There is opportunity for investment in roads and road infrastructure. That was a priority of this council that we made during our planning session in February that will allow us to maintain our roads in a more equitable way other than just the HERF dollars, which is the money that we get back from the state based on our sales tax that we pump out of gas taxes here. It also has key investments in public safety, increased investments in code enforcement, which again is a priority of this council, infrastructure, also staff resources to ensure that we can continue to work to retain and hire city staff across all spectrums of our item. The council has worked very, very hard on this. Even more so, the staff has worked very diligently to bring a conservative budget that takes into account all of the unknowns that all of our residents are facing and experiencing when it comes to delays or inflationary spending and those types of things to ensure we're there. The other great thing about this budget is we were able to double our budget stabilization reserve, our BSR, which sometimes in the news is called the rainy day fund. We don't like to call it that because it's not that. It's there to stabilize the budget should a downturn in the economy occur, that we have time to respond accordingly so that the taxpayers are not on the hook for those types of things. So very proud of the work we were able to do on this budget. Are there any comments or questions from members of the council for Ms. Olson? This is fairly procedural just because we've gone through the process already, done the tentative and spent many, many work sessions and council public hearings on this. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at this time if anyone would like to address the city council on this item. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, one question.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
Can you remind me again in here, what is the courthouse's budgeted amount this year?
In the CIP budget for the courthouse, I'll defer to either Ms. Olson or
Which is
Mr.
different than this
Knudsen.
budget, but it's still the same budget, right?
Yeah. So the total is about 8.5, 8.1. It depends on some of our discussion later this afternoon.
Okay,
But we
then
have.
I'll just withdraw the question.
Okay, gotcha. We will have that discussion on item 8.11. All right, any other comments? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Dolan.
Motion.
Please.
I move to adopt ordinance number 22-3593, adopting the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $225,766,868 and no cents.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan. We have a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Olson. All right, thank you all for joining us in our special meeting. We're now going to reconvene to our regular meeting. So we're back to where we started. We're going to item 8.9, which is approve Microsoft Volume Software Licensing Package. Mr. Basquet.
Good evening, Mayor Council. For this item, we're requesting the renewal of the city's Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. The agreement is renewed every 3 years, and it sets the city's pricing for all the Microsoft technologies that we use. Essentially, the EA is established for city governments and private sector that are larger than 250 employees. It's a much more effective way for us to actually use those technologies. The new agreement is going to cost the city $252,276.32 annually for the next 3 years. Any questions on the EA, how it works, or anything else in that subject?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Beska. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Bring it back to council for any discussion or a possible motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Yeah,
I
Councilmember
move
Lane.
to approve the Microsoft Volume Software Licensing Package and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents to renew the 3-year Microsoft Enterprise Agreement for $252,276.32 per year.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane. We have a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Moses. Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, item 8.10 is award agreement for professional services for the Bridgewater Channel dredging project to Kimley Horn and Associates. Mr. Sloan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Oh, there we go. So this is the Bridgewater Channel dredging project. Little history, the Bridgewater Channel was originally constructed in 1969 and was first dredged in 1995. The last time it was dredged was 12 years ago in 2010. This current project is to remove sedimentation in multiple locations to reduce navigational hazards for boat traffic. The project is separated into 3 separate phases. The first phase is the emergency dredging of the south point at London Bridge Beach. You can see it there in the picture. This is the bottleneck that we're having at the south end of the channel. So that's the first phase of the project. The second phase is the maintenance dredging of the rest of the channel based on the survey of where dredging needs to occur. And then the third phase is the removal of sediment at the Pima Wash outlet on Rotary Park. So anytime we deal with the channel, obviously there's a lot of regulatory requirements. These are some of the permits that are required. The nationwide permit for dredging the channel, BLM individual permit for dredging of the Pima Wash, and that should also, we also need an ADEQ permit for dewatering of all the excavated material. Environmental requirements, biological evaluation is required for the Army Corps of Engineers permit, as well as the environmental assessment for the full-blown NEPA process. Timeline for phase 1 for the emergency dredging. This is the bottleneck in the channel. Under a separate contract, we've already completed the survey and we're working on the biological evaluation now. So we should be able to submit the permit in August and begin dredging in October. For this phase 2 and 3, which are significantly longer efforts, it's approximately 1 year to complete all of the required permit processes and design work, with dredging should be occurring in the fall of 2023. And that concludes my staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sloan. Are there questions from members of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
I don't know a lot about dredging. Does this put the channel out of commission for a while?
I'll read my comments on it. October is a good time to do it if we have to do it. But Mr. Sloan, what are those requirements going to look like?
Right, we're only allowed to dredge July through December, so there's a certain time of year we can do it. Obviously, parts of the channel might have to be closed down when we're dredging, depending on how the dredging is done. The Pima Wash wouldn't close down any of the channel area, but parts of it would probably have to be closed at times.
Thank you. for citizens that don't use the channel or aren't boaters, or might only use the land side and not actually go into the water, this is creating quite a navigation issue. You'll see that the city installed some additional no mooring signs at this part of the channel, just so to make it safer until we can get this done. So that sediment really has just increased really rapidly. So this will be a great project to increase the navigation of the channel for our boaters and those that use that area, and of course the swimmers or recreators that are in that area as well. Any other Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, one other comment, just to reach out to the citizens that are boaters. I have sat at the restaurants before and watched. It is in a no-wake zone. The no-wake zone is really, really important to our channel, and I see many boaters sometimes exceeding the speed. And so I'm asking you personally out there, we're going to spend the money to get this done. It will last a lot longer if we actually obey those laws. Thank you much.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Don Wisdom. Are they going to be replacing the sand if they're going to be dredging? Because you spend a lot of money putting sand along that concrete bench. And is that going to be replaced?
Yeah. So, Mr. Wisdom, this is the sand below that. So this is below the seawall.
But it's still going to erode down.
No, there's a seawall in this area at the south end of the channel. So they would remove the navigation hazard, and then it's one level up on the seawall where the white sand is.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice seeing you guys.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Yes.
I'm Kathy Molson. I live here in Havasu, and we were boaters. And yes, I'm glad to see that happening. I've been really concerned. And I appreciate your question, Ms. Campbell, because this is a stupid question, I know, but who enforces that no wake zone? Does anybody enforce it? Because I think we could make a lot of money on those tickets. I was sitting in a restaurant for an hour. It's like 1 out of every 6 or 7 boats is actually making no wake. So do boaters find out what a wake is? I mean, I know what it is because we had a boat. Sure. And my husband was going too fast.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. So our in the channel area, like Havasu PD does, but there's multiple jurisdictions on this area. So the Mojave County Sheriff Department, specifically for this area, and other authorities. But point is well taken, and the enforcement will be adjusted accordingly. But we don't look to try and make money through fines. We try to have compliance within our community without that. But thank you for your comment. Yes.
Mayor, I did kind of like her point, though, that if the fines could use for these projects again, because consequences are good, and these fines, I sit there too and I watch, and my husband's like her husband. He gets totally frustrated, I guess, when you're one of the original pioneers here and got to see the whole thing drench and how it was built to be seeing boats going through there as fast as they are, and they are.
Yeah, Ms. Toy?
Go ticket them. Sorry, I'm Bonnie Toy. The question I have, again, I know I asked last time, I'm pretty certain, but I forgot what the answer was already. And the question is, where are they putting the dredging material that they lift out of there and put away? Because I know you're not going to kill our grass bowl again, correct?
Yeah, we're still determining. I don't know, Mr. Sloan, if you have any additional information on where it's going to go.
We don't at this time. Once we do the survey, we have to identify quantities for our permit process. And at that time, once we know the quantity, we'll be able to better determine what a better disposal site would be.
Great, thank you.
So would it be possible to have it considered a location for the second bridge that people want to build? Just thought process.
Okay. All right. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? Yes.
Hello again. Van and Gale. You know, I drive down McCulloch Boulevard, and right where Calvary Chapel is, you have this 25-mile-an-hour zone that flashes. And so people who don't know this town, you see them hit the anchors when they see the thing light up, and they go through at 25. And they're solar powered, I think. Could we maybe put something like that on the entrance on both sides? and where the bridge is so that people can actually see what they're doing? It's just an idea. I don't think it's very expensive, but maybe worth exploring. Because they fly by, jet skis especially, right? They're zooming, so just a thought.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. I hear staff all looking and listening, so we will take a look at all of these suggestions. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Koch?
motion?
Yeah, please.
I move to award the agreement for professional services for the Bridgewater Channel dredging to Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $102,220.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch, a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, our final public hearing this evening is item 8.11, and it is informational discussion and update of the new municipal courthouse project. Mr. Sloan?
Thank you. So this is an update, which we haven't been here for a while, so update on the 65% design. Just a little timeline of what's happened since the last time we were here. We completed the conceptual design in August of 2021. We awarded the construction manager at risk contract in February of 2022. Then resumed the design work and completing the 65% design earlier this month. Before getting into the discussion on the 65% design, I'd like to turn it over to Judge Kalali to review some of the functions performed by the court.
Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you folks tonight. I will say that because no matter what time we get done tonight, my wife will have me up at 5 o'clock to go running. I'm only going to utilize 3 of the allotted 4 hours that I have. So, Mayor, Council, I just wanted to talk with you really quickly about what we need as a court as we move forward in our community. And just if you can see the slide there, there's some things that I would like to make the people aware of. I think I've had enough discussions with most of you folks regularly about some of our needs that this is informational, especially for our citizens, to kind of help them understand, what it is we're looking for and what it is we need and why we might need this courthouse. We have had, over the last couple of years, an increase in filings. Over the last 2 years, DUIs are up over 20%. DUIs are extended cases. They take a long time. There's a lot that has to go into them. So we're up 20% over the last 2 years. We have into our lobby per year about 28,000 visitors. We also are not doing orders of protection right now, and that's about around 500 a year once we start doing that. Right now, we have an agreement with the County Justice of the Peace Court to do our orders of protection. But once we move into another building, that would be something that we are legally obligated to do. And so there's a lot more people here. And when there are a lot more people, that means, unfortunately, that there are a lot more people that make some decisions that maybe they shouldn't make. And so that means that we are that much busier over the years. Because we only have access to one courtroom at this time, at any given time, we're having to stack trials. So I have a date in, I think it's early September, where I have 5 jury trials that are set right now. Now what happens is as we get closer, some of them do come off, but there are times when we have to say, okay, this jury trial, because of these reasons, we're actually going to go forward on that day, and then the other jury trial has to go to another day, which will then replace another jury trial that we've already gotten set. And so because we only have access to one courtroom at this time, we're having to do all of these things to try and do what the law requires us to do. The AOC, which is my other boss, requires that within a certain period of time that we have cases be adjudicated, meaning that they go to post-conviction. They're either dismissed, or there's a guilty plea, or they're found guilty or responsible, or whatever the case may be. We are struggling to meet those timeframes now because we don't have enough space to do all of the things that we need to do. We don't have enough access to courtrooms, those kind of things. And so those are things that are happening that we're having to run what we call concurrent calendars. We're having to stack cases so that we can get everything going. There are certain days where we just don't have time to do anything because we only have that access. Our Administrative Office of Courts are also requiring that many of our hearings be virtual hearings. That's one of the things that's come out of COVID. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, just that if we're going to do virtual hearings and we have a trial going at the same time, that means we can't do the trial and the virtual hearing. And so virtual hearings don't typically need a lot of people involved in them, but they do need the space. And so one of the things that is in this plan is that we have a virtual courtroom, which I think will go along well with what we're hoping to do. Right now, when the prosecutors have pretrial conferences with the defendants, that happens in the break room for the courthouse. So while they have a whole morning, none of the clerks can go into the break room, or if they do, there's a whole bunch of other things going on because we don't have any place else to do that. And so that's really been a problem with us. In the new courthouse, I think there's 2 specific rooms that we can do that and 2 others for other types of meetings that we can do. Also, there's a larger space to provide for larger meetings, which right now also happen in that break room unless there's a jury trial from one of the other courts, and then we have to go to another side of the building and hope that we can get in there. And so we're running into these space problems all over the place. I'm excited because we will have a law library that will be available to the public that they may be able to do and do things specifically in regards to either their cases or maybe some of the things that they want to know about the law. And so I'm excited that there's space for that, and we hope to be able to have that going. And then I think council is well aware, and I believe that the city is well aware of my passion for treatment courts, problem-solving courts, that type of let's figure out what we can do to resolve a problem so somebody doesn't continue to come back into the legal system. That recidivism rate is what we talk about all the time. 80 to 95% is what it is typically. In treatment courts, they can cut in half and even more so than that. And so right now, we don't have the space to do anything other than our Veterans Treatment Court and our Youth Court that we're doing now. We just don't have the space. But if we had, when we have that second courtroom and when we have the virtual courtroom, we're going to be able to do all of those things. We have the personnel, we have the knowledge, we have the successes already. We have the commitment from the community. We have the services available. We have everything except the place to do it. And so I think I think the vision for myself and for our court is that we're able to do that in other areas. A co-occurring court is something that we are in dire need of. Unfortunately, many times the court or the legal system is who identifies who has mental health or substance use issues because they come into the legal system. And we haven't had the ability to really address those issues so that they don't keep coming back. And so I think what we have and what you will see tonight is perfect for where we are right now or where we need to be. And it's perfect for when we are moving forward because it's not like we're growing. We are growing. And so we need to be able to expand into that space. And I think what we have tonight is exactly what we need. I will say thank you to everybody that's been involved. If you could have been in some of the process, everybody has come together to try and do exactly what the council would ask us to do. And I think this is a really good plan. It meets our needs. It allows us to be able to do the things that we do. And I really appreciate council for your support as we move forward in this. And so with that, I think my 3 hours are up. So
thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Chad Billings with DFDG, who is the primary architect on this project and who will go over the details of the courthouse design.
Thank you, Council. So we're going to start really quickly with several months ago, we presented several options for what the court facility could be. And after several conversations about what it needs to be and what it should have, this was the plan that we settled on here. So don't need to get into it too much, but this is just sort of the reference point where we started. Moving into several months later to get to today, we have a much more fleshed out plan that shows exactly how all of those spaces are going to come together. You can see the 2 primary courtrooms are full size with jury boxes each, so they're able to both serve the same type of functions so that when there are stacked court calendar events, they're able to use either or as needed. Both of them have access to in-custody defendants, so there's no specialization needed between either of those. In addition to that, we do have, as you said, a virtual courtroom as well. It's a smaller hearing room style courtroom and a jury assembly space. The court staff has adequate spaces for their current needs with judges' offices and staff offices throughout. The front counter space is very accessible and welcoming to the public. There should not be any real challenges with the public finding their way and getting that access to justice. That's really critical within a court space, even when you don't need to go to the courtroom itself. So overall, this space is providing the meeting rooms, the courtrooms, and all the ancillary spaces that are going to be needed. You do see the one space that's a little off color is the red in the corner. That is for in-custody defendants. And so we have a dedicated holding cell room, and we were able to, without creating a dedicated Sally port, find a path to get in-custody defendants to travel to that holding cell without having to travel through a public space, which is a very important function to court. So defendants are not exposed to the public that could be their jurors that are deciding their fate while they're shackled and in custody. So this does provide a lot of those services without the full expense of a full holding cell transfer space. So we're able to achieve a lot of these courtroom necessary features within the budget that we were targeting. A little bit closer view of those courtrooms. Like I said, there are two courtrooms. One has slightly larger gallery seating, and that is by design because there are cases that need more public spectating. And so we have one with 4 rows of seating and one with 3. But within the courtroom well itself, the spaces are both equally sized so they can provide all the same functions and resources. There's a jury deliberation room between them so that the jurors do not have to go through any public space. They can stay within the secure side to get from the courtroom into their deliberation room. And then the virtual courtroom is in the top corner there with the jury assembly below that. So all these spaces are going to serve the courts very well, and they're going to be flexible for ongoing needs into the future. So we did talk about a second floor as well. So the second floor expansion is a very small expansion to the physical area of the second floor, with the intent being that it can one day in the future possibly provide a council chamber. So it's a room a little bit larger than this, a little more seating capacity, so that as the city continues to grow, they want to have access. We had standing room only here because everybody wanted to hear me today, right? But so when we get to those larger events, you're not asking the public to stand or even wait in the hallway. So when the council is ready to move into this, the floor will be in place so it won't disturb ongoing court operations. So this is what the actual plan is going to get built out as. And then we did start to explore what the council chambers itself could start to look like. You know, it wasn't really part of our scope to design the space, but we do work with a lot of municipalities and understand what needs to happen in a council chamber. So we did prepare a layout to prove that this is the right size for meeting your needs. So a few images of what the space will look like. These are renderings that we did before we got our first cost estimate from our contractor partner. And so there are some things that you might see in these renderings that won't make it to the final resolution, but we did work out a lot of these details to get to our budget goals. So this is the lobby. So you can see the security queuing process. The doors into the space are going to be replaced in new doors because you want to have an ingress and an egress that's separate. And so you can see that here coming through security, where you have meeting rooms available to the public without kind of moving into the court spaces and the front counters. Here's a view inside one of the courtrooms. And so you can see that it's a proper look for a court facility. You got wood at the judge's bench and then painted accent features to give it some presence. We are looking at a rail that's between the public seating and the back of the litigant wall that is open so that the judge and the clerk can see if somebody's bringing a backpack or something, you know, inappropriate to the space. It's not going to be left behind a solid wall. So there is a measure of security being provided with that design. Here is that public lobby area. And so we have the space provided for a person to come up to the front counter, have their privacy. So there are little dividers between each station so that there is a measure of privacy for people that are engaging in personal, private conversations with the clerks, the court staff to get their issues resolved and maybe not even have to go to the courtrooms at all. There is adequate waiting. This serves not only as people waiting for front access or counter access, but also for people that are waiting to go into the courtrooms. So there's adequate seating for those dual purposes for this lobby space.
So this slide shows the current CIP budget that was in the 10%, that was based on the 10% conceptual design. The 65% design, which was, Chad was just discussing, cost estimate came in at $5.1 million. At this time, I'd like to introduce Anthony Haverkamp with FCI to go over the details of the 65% cost estimate and also discuss the value engineering effort that we're undertaking to reduce the project cost.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Haverkamp with FCI Constructors. I'm a pre-construction manager based in our Glendale office. So going through, working together with the entire team, understanding the overall vision, understanding the goals of what the project is to be, and working hand in hand with DFDG and Selberg Associates on the design, working through the entire cost estimate, going through the plans. We had our entire team evaluate that, look at the constructability, see the what's going to be going into the facility, understanding what has to be done to that existing facility to improve it for the new use. So working together with the entire team, we evaluated the plans, looked at different cost-saving options and opportunities, and worked out to getting to the 5.145851 number that Dan Sloan presented. That involved a very thorough cost-saving and value engineering effort. Initially, when we first looked at the project, it was about a $5.8 million cost. And so we had to really extensively find any cost-saving opportunities that we could to ensure that we could stay within the budget limits that we had to be within. So we came up with many different cost-saving solutions, looking at different finishes, whether it's swapping out wood paneling or flooring, looking at different ceiling tiles, evaluating the wall system construction itself. Is there anything that we could have done to maybe redesign a few things and provide some cost-saving benefits? Even looking at the mechanical systems, the overall system components, because we're also tracking not only just what the cost is, but the availability. There's a lot of items that are very, very long lead time, and we know we want to get this project done in a very soon amount of time as possible, just to be able to get it open to the public, as well as to avoid added costs, because everything is constantly increasing. You're seeing the escalations that's hitting the industry. Home values are going up. Materials prices are increasing. So the longer the project goes and delays from construction, the higher the cost of all materials is constantly increasing. So finding any cost-saving opportunities that we can to help get that project back into budget. We explored literally everything and went line by line, finding what the impacts would be, and ultimately getting the project back to under the $5.2 million budget.
Thank you. So now Chad's going to review the options for build out of the second floor with the new city council chambers.
So again, like I said earlier, we weren't really designing this. So this is just sort of, I'll call it a placeholder to prove, it's a proof of concept that this will function for a council chamber. So this is what we looked at way back when. And so what you see here in green is the actual council chambers, and we're providing a conference room at the rear. So it would be for council to go and have private meetings in the back. You will see a storage room so that the room becomes flexible, so you can put tables and chairs in and out, make the room fit the specific needs of that event. In the back towards the bottom of the page here, you'll see a sort of a triangular shaped room is the AV room, so that as the council sessions are being broadcast, the person controlling that has full view of the council session and is able to control it accordingly. And up in the top right corner, you will see two unisex restrooms. That is to supplement the additional public restrooms that are available on the first floor. So that's not the limit of the restrooms that are available for the public, but it's the convenient location that we're able to add a couple of facilities to that. We actually will require them to meet our code required plumbing count, but it does provide a measure of convenience for the council as well as public. So you can see that there's a total of 128 seats for the public. Our goal was 100 seats. So there is the flexibility to adjust what the council dais looks like and how the staff seating is incorporated into it. But here you can see that there's a slightly curved dais for the council, 2 staff tables up at the front with 4 additional staff tables at the rear. and then all the public seating sort of in the center. So it appears to function in a general sense, and it would be something that if you wanted to move forward with it sooner rather than later, it's something that we can continue to elaborate and fine tune it to meet your exact needs. But it does serve that as we're building the floor out, this does seem to be the right shape and size to build out today.
So the construction cost of building out that second floor is about $1 million. We would also need to amend DFDG's and FCI's contracts to perform the design work because that was not in the actual, our current contract. And then to include that building out, as Chad mentioned, in our current construction schedule that we're on now, we would need to do these two amendments at the July 12th City Council meeting so that they could incorporate that into the design and continue the process into construction. So just looking at this schedule, we're moving from 65 to 100% design by the end of August. Then we should have our guaranteed maximum price after that in September. Year-long construction phase from October to October of 2023. Then we get into furnishing fixtures and equipment and the information technology infrastructure installation in the fall of 2023, where the building would then open in the first quarter of 2024. And that concludes our staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sloan, and thank you for all the presenters on this. When we first saw all the bubble graphs and kind of where and how, now it's starting to make a lot more sense and much more functional. Thank you for working with our team to get these components together. The budget's not completely surprising. When we first started this whole process prior to the pandemic and all of the fluctuations in cost, the CIP was $7.5 million total for the project. And so with the purchase of the building and these tenant improvements, we're in the neighborhood of with the world upending over the 2 years. And so, the judge did a great job telling us why we need it. It's necessary. 28,000 counter visits a year is a lot more than I thought would ever be. But definitely a project that has been a priority of this council since the deconsolidation occurred and having to address it in some way. Are there other comments and questions from members of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I have a few questions.
Yeah, Councilmember Lynn?
I should know this, but can you tell me what the cost of the building was again?
$3 million.
$3 million, okay. So I did a little bit of research, and so every year we get the CIP that gives us how much the courthouse is gonna be. So in 2020, it was 3.5. 2021, it was 7.5. 2022, 4.7. 2023, 8.4. My question on those, was that 100% build out when we had those numbers?
No, Mayor, Councilmember Lynn, what you're identified in there wasn't necessarily the total cost of the construction of the courthouse or the completion of a courthouse. It was the dollars the city was going to spend in that budget year for that 12-month period.
Yeah.
Which is so that we have carry forwards and projects that last into 2 fiscal budgets. So in the budget, we identify what the cost of the project would be for that fiscal year. And then as we enter into the next budget, there would be additional cost for the completion of the courthouse.
Okay, that kind of answers my question, kind of. It's hard for me. I mean, I understand the cost of things going up, and then as we see plans, things go up. But looking at the numbers go from 3.5 to 7.5 to 4.7 to 8.4 to today at 65%, and I still don't know if these were complete 65 to, what's today's? Oh my goodness. 5.1 to, if we do the second floor, we're another 1.6 on top of that. Like, I'm just really concerned how this is growing out, and that's the 5.1 that they're showing us, and then you add the 1.6. Is that still 65% build out? If you do.
Well, you mentioned 1.6 for the council chambers. That's probably closer to 1.2 million dollars at about $1 million. That slide, Mr. Sloan, then we can.
If you add those numbers together right there, that's 1.68. And does that include the elevator too, or is that level 1?
So the construction of the second floor, which would be the council chambers, which includes the the elevator itself.
Yes.
Plus the design of $70,000. We're at about just short of $1.1 million for the second floor.
So, and that, doing this and what's been presented, that whole thing is still only 65% build out?
No. So that's we have design plans. So when you go through a project and you're making a design of a building, right? You start at maybe like around 30% design. You work with the team, you identify the needs and the flow. You get some cost estimates based on that. And then you pause and you have a 30% design. And then you go a little bit further and then you come back at like a 65% design. So that shows that as we're at right now with the project, we're at 65% of the design is completed. So when we get to 100% of the design or 90% of the design, we'll go back and check the market again and see that price obviously come down, right? Which won't be the case. We're going to try to hold steady as much as we can. We've made lots of cuts. We've had some really tough decisions to get that down to a certain point. A lot of grumblings and a lot of evil eyes that came my way. But the council is telling me that we want to be right around that $5 million mark. So that's what I'm trying to hold fast as best I can there. But that's right now. If we built that at 65% of what we had talked about right now, we went out to bid right now, and we called that 100% design, it would cost us $5.15 million to build that facility or renovate the existing building. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Plus, if we decide to do the second level, 1.6.
No, 1.1.
What's that? 1.1. I don't know. I'm adding my numbers up. It's coming up different, but okay. 1.1.
It's $1,068,000.
Okay.
So
maybe.
it was 68,220.
Oh, 69 versus 600,000. Okay, that's the confusion. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So if I add that up, you add that up, we're up to 5, 6, I don't know, 6, 2, I don't know. And then the 3 million that we spent for the building, we're at 9, but we're still at only 65% completion, correct?
The design is 65% completed. Yeah.
What's that?
The design is 65% completed.
And
when the courthouse is constructed, it'll be 100% what you see in there, 2 full courtrooms, a virtual courtroom, and the public, the jury assembly and the access for the inmates to go through, the counter space, everything you saw in the renderings. That's what $5.1 million gets for Lake Havasu City.
Like, I thank you all, and I'm great job. I'm just looking at the numbers and all that looks at the adding all that up, and then the $3 million we paid for the building, and then we haven't furnished it, and we haven't put maintenance in place. So I'm really concerned that it's not in the budget that the council agreed to stay in. I just don't. I don't see the numbers lining up the way that we all agreed we'd like to stay within that budget, and I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you. So that's the conversation we're having right now is what direction do we give? So there's 2 pieces of information we would give back to staff is, let's move. This is where we're at in the 5.1 range for the courthouse. And do we want to proceed at this point with the council chambers, which we would have to make that decision now to be the most cost effective. So these numbers that we're seeing is for 100% build out as of today at the 65% design phase. But if I understood it correctly, in September with the CMAR or the price guarantee, that would happen in September for us? Is that okay? So
it should, yes.
Okay, perfect. So in September, we'll know the exact numbers. They'll come back before council again for that final approval. Right now, we just need to give direction if that's palatable, and we understand it is budgeted in our budget. We identified it as a priority as we talked about earlier. But any other questions from members of the council before we open the public hearing? Councilmember Campbell?
Well, you knew I was going to go for this, but I've had a lot of, I thought, memory issues because every time I go back and remember what the story was before, somebody said, no, that's not the case. So I went back and looked at a bunch of public records, including old videos, to identify what I remember, and I remembered it to be accurate, and it's obvious all on public record, so if anybody wants to follow through, please do. But if I remember correctly, in 2019, we deconsolidated. By February 2020, we were in a coffee with mayor, and we were discussing that we were going to identify $3.5 million to build a courthouse in 5 years. Fast forward, we're at $9 million for a used building, minus, I think, FFE. And my next question, I guess, to the draftsperson, the architects. First off, I want to say the designs are beautiful. I looked at them, I've dug through them. I noticed that the ceilings are all dropped. I know we're in a 2-story building. I know we're in a round building. But everything about the design is perfect. If I could pick that design up and probably put it on the original plan for a brand new building as a business person that builds and designs stuff, I clearly know forcing something into a building and retrofitting it in always brings, most of the time, it brings concerns, extra expenses. We run into things left and right. Last time when we docked, I asked, I'm highly concerned about the air conditioning. And the architect came back and said, if you want to look at the air conditioning, we're going to need to hire somebody else to take a look at that. And I am guaranteeing that we probably might need to update that. Can somebody tell me how old is that building?
First off, Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, the AC costs are included in that 5.1.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
Because last time when I asked, that wasn't part of the deal, that we were gonna have to get that other. So that's one of my big questions. Second, the building is older. So now we're spending $9 million on an older building that I'm concerned about the heights of the ceilings. We're gonna be dropping down. You have air conditioning expenses. I really thought we didn't need the Taj Mahal. And if it was up to me, I know right now the Partners of Economic Development is building a 9,000 square foot building for $1.8 million. So that's $9 million is a lot of money for a used building. And I'm just concerned what we're gonna see in the future with this. So that is one of my concerns. The second is the second story. 128 seats up there, great. I know that we have emergency access, that we have a policy here. If there was something to go down in city council, how everybody gets out. I'm concerned about being in on the second floor and trying to exit everybody out that side door, I guess. So I'm concerned about that. Second off, I'm concerned about having council meetings during the evening with air conditioner and all that, interfering with already there's a courthouse down there, we have security down there. I don't really know if we need to be intermingling that area as much as I would like. And the other thing is the parking is really concerning to me, because where the parking is in that, if you try and get in and out of that, when I go to the gym there, I remember sitting on that corner for quite a long time trying to get out safely on that 4-way and get around the corner. So I have a lot of concerns about the direction of this. I have done my due diligence and went back into public record. And I think that originally when we deconsolidated, it sounded like we were going to go in 5 years, we were going to build a $3.5 million courthouse. Those are the exact words, over on our property over here. Fast forward 9 over, because we don't even have fixtures in here. I was in a Mojave County meeting, and they were paying $800 per chair. I mean, this could be another $2 million on top of all this. And I look around this little council chamber right here, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. I'm sorry that we inconvenience some people once in a while, but to me, I think this is safer right next to the police department on the main floor. We're in a different parking location. These are all the things I see. But as for your design, absolutely brilliant. If I could pick it up and put it over here and build brand new and eliminate all the wiring issues, electrical issues, mechanical issues, I'd be all in if it was even cheaper.
Yeah.
I said my point.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Councilmember Lane, did you have some comments?
Thank you. Sure. And I think the final total, I know you said 9 million, I think it's 8.4. So that is a big difference. So
you need furniture.
So yeah, could be. So when we talk about, need versus want here in the city, we don't want a new courthouse. We have a need for a courthouse. We don't have a courthouse. Right now, we are leasing one courtroom from the county. You heard the judge talk about how we can't do what we are legally mandated to do just on a day-to-day basis. And then we would like to bring these treatment courts in so that we actually lower the recidivism rate, which lowers costs. So I think, yeah, is it a lot of money? I agree with you. It's a whole lot of money that we don't want to spend. But we don't have a choice but to do this. So do we want to build a Taj Mahal? We said no. We can look at and I won't mention the city, but we have a city here in this county that the county just built a courthouse there. It was $30 million. And we're doing this for $8 million. And I'll say, $9 million if you want to talk about furniture and all that. So, I mean, we're making, we're going bare bones. When you look at these designs, there's no fluff in here. This is just a bare bones municipal building that is a courthouse. So, yeah, I think it's time to move forward, not because we want to, but because we have to. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Any other comments before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan?
I'll weigh in because it's fun. And how could I go wrong with supporting the courthouse? No, we definitely need a courthouse. We have this, we're at this point. Has it played out the way I think it should have played out? No, I think when we bought the building for $3 million, I think we thought it had more uses and more life into it, that we could just throw up some walls, and that's not the case. But this is also, I mean, if this is me and I bought the building, it would have been totally done right now. We would have been moved in and it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper. But I also wouldn't have advertised that I'm going to spend $3 million on this and then have a bid come in for $3 million. So unfortunately, this is also the government at work, not just our government, but the state government, federal government. We have to take the lowest bids. We have to go. I wouldn't have, nothing personal. I mean, I would have sat down with Selberg, the judge. We'd have worked out a layout with a contractor. Let's start ordering doors while they're, somewhat reasonable priced, and we do it. But you know what? That's not good for you guys, because you don't know if the contractor is my brother, or if, we're going to put a nicer desk in for the judge than he needs. So yes, while it's more efficient at that level, it's not good at the government level. So, and I guess my other question too is I don't like, the process and how we've gotten here, but without the crystal ball, I don't know where we go from here, other than just complaining that it's stupid and it's expensive. But we could have a long meeting about a lot of stuff that's stupid and expensive. But to me, it kind of is what it is. We've come this far. I think we definitely need to continue where we are. The council chambers, I think, is definitely something that we need to discuss at the July 12th meeting. There's definitely pros and cons to that. I'm also okay with this room with the way it is right now. But like I said, that's not the cost of the courthouse. The cost of the courthouse is the $5 million. So where we are now, I think there's some great plans. I think, unfortunately, it did cost what it cost, but it is what it is. And, I don't know what we're going to do by complaining. I was very much against it too, in the cost, but I'm glad we did do the value engineering and we went through with contractor, and we don't need this and we don't need that. So with that said, I think we definitely need to keep going with it. And I appreciate the updates. It's nice seeing the pictures. And like I said, this is definitely a need for the city, and we need to give the judge the tools to do what he can do, to help the police to do what they need to do. So it's just something the community has to have. So thank you.
And thank you for your comments. All right, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council in this matter? Yeah, just please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Jan Boyd. Something caught my attention from their words. They said 2 unisex bathrooms. Could the architect please describe that?
Certainly, yes.
Yes, ma'am. A unisex restroom is simply a restroom that isn't only for women or only for men. It's a bathroom that has a privacy lock on it, so one person goes in at a time, so that it meets either man or woman's needs.
So it's one bathroom, you go in at one time.
Yeah, think of it like your bathroom at your own home, so anybody can use it.
How does that address 200 people?
The primary restrooms are on the first floor, so that's where the men's and women's joint restrooms are. It's decided effectively by the space available. We could add more toilets to the floor if we expanded the floor further, but then that increases the cost, and there are some limitations to how far we can push that floor edge without starting to compromise the court spaces below.
So then you're opening it to, I'm going to walk into a restroom where I might see a urinal. It's going to be set there for a man or a woman?
The unisex restrooms don't need to have a urinal in it. Think of it as your restroom at home.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name is Cindy Ritter. I would like to give you my personal opinions and some data that I have collected. As you know, the current building currently houses the Justice Court, the Municipal Court, and the Superior Court. There are four courtrooms currently in that building. The Municipal Court only is allowed to use one. They have approximately 200 cases a week that they process through that courtroom, and they have an 85% recidivism rate in the regular courtroom. Now I'd like to talk about our specialty courts. We currently have the Youth Court and the Veterans Treatment Court. These specialty courts have done amazing things for the citizens of our community. The Youth Court has a recidivism rate under 10%. I have not personally attended the Youth Court, but we have had 227 graduates from that court in the 9 years that they have been in, since they've been created. I've not personally been there and witnessed the lives that have been changed, but I would say there are at least 227. I have attended most of the hearings at the Veterans Treatment Court over the last almost 9 years and have witnessed the lives that have been changed, the families that have been reunited, and the lives that have been saved. I've witnessed the men and women that have arrived broken, feeling they aren't worthy of a life to live, and walk out with their heads held high, ready to take on whatever life has thrown at them. The Veterans Treatment Court has had 219 men and women graduate from that program. The recidivism rate there is less than 10%. Specialty courts not only save lives, they save the community a lot of money due to the low recidivism rate. With our own municipal court, there are countless specialty courts that can be started that will serve the citizens of our communities. Just think of the lives we could save. In my opinion, we owe it to our citizens, and I hope you feel the same way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What?
Good evening again. Nancy, what would it cost to build from scratch a two-room courthouse?
Well, I agree with Councilmember Dolan. If I did it, it would already been done for substantially cheaper. I don't understand when we get into government. We talked about staff just a minute ago. I think staff is phenomenal. This is a great design. Everything about it is great. But to spend I'll say $6 million in interior walls, oh my goodness, I can't imagine how big. I don't even know. But again, I don't do government work. But why is that the question? Why can't we get good quality remodels at a reasonable price? Because at the end, it's one contractor doing it. He's going out. I'm seeing here, there's like hardly a kitchen. We're using the same plumbing in the same bathroom area. We're building, to me, you're asking me my opinion.
Yes.
It's shocking to me. And as I absolutely believe what the lady says back there, we need this courthouse. I'm excited for the treatment courts. I'm excited to run efficiently. I think when I campaigned, I said, I'm all for putting up in as much software programs we can to streamline it so we really know what we need in a courthouse, and they've done it all. They've been working so hard. COVID was a terrible thing, but in the meantime, we learned about virtual rooms that we didn't know we needed. So the plan is great. What I don't like is the price that we're paying for this. I'm a good stewardship of your tax dollars, and every time a government job gets something that it gets it 300%, 400%, 500% seems higher than what I would get it for. I'm building a house right now with I don't want to brag, with the elevator in it with 3 stories and concrete walls. I'm not getting anywhere near that price. I'm not touching it. I can't believe how many other houses I could probably build. So to me, as a consumer, I'm shocked at the price. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hold up the job or not do what's right, but I don't know why everything that's government related costs so much.
Yeah. Well, when you go from residential to a commercial building, the price is usually double or triples. But I hate to say something wrong, but when U-Haul tried to do that deal up there by Walmart, they did a much better presentation what these folks did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hello, I'm Bonnie Toy, still, thankfully. Oh, I did have a question about the ways to save money and reduced cost of $660,000 by removing the paneling in courtrooms, replacing wall and tile in restrooms with fiberglass, replace flooring in restrooms with polished concrete, use lower cost acoustical ceiling tile, replace wood floors with hollow metal doors, outdoor mechanical equipment screen wall removed, remove ceiling in non-public corridors, reduce number of access control points. I was just wondering how removing everything saves money, because you're removing it.
Yes, you remove it so you don't have to pay for the other treatment. So by removing the wood paneling, you're not having to buy the wood paneling. Removing the tile, you're able to use polished concrete.
Why can't you leave the wood paneling? Why can't you leave the tile? Why can't you leave the floor the way it is?
We could for an additional $660,000.
What? I'm sorry?
Removed it from the plan, not the building, is what Mr. Knudsen was saying.
Oh, so the building doesn't have wood paneling in it?
No longer.
Oh, and I was just curious. I've never went to Havasu Fitness when it was open, so I have no idea what it looks like, except there was some stairs and a second level walk path from what I remember the pictures of. Was there a pool there?
No.
Oh, darn. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
But I was just curious about didn't understand that apparently. I thought that was stuff that was already there that you're removing.
No.
Okay.
From the plan. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to go on record, I'm definitely against putting in a pool at the courthouse.
Yeah.
That's wasteful spending, and I'm against it.
Yeah.
Also, I think you need to throw into the budget for the new courthouse a golf cart for your community, from people going from this area to that area and driving back and forth. It's nice thing there.
Yeah, thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the council on this matter? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Mayor, council members, my name is Michael Slavic. I'm a retired magistrate from Bullhead City, and I've known Judge Kalali for some time. You have a unique, well, not unique, but a wonderful opportunity here, even though you're constricted by the walls of the building, to build a courthouse from the ground up. And I can tell you from the Bullhead City Municipal Court, that is patched together. Clerks have to cross through the public area to get from one clerk area to another. Judges have to pass through public areas. And this is being designed as a regular courthouse. And I really enjoy seeing that. Judge Kalali listed many reasons that you need a courthouse, many of the things you do in a courthouse. And the one thing that really stands out is space. You need space. So I wasn't clear, but I think that the upstairs is partially built, but you're adding more square footage. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I would highly encourage you to add the square footage, whether you develop it today or not. Get the square footage up there, because trying to do it later after you've got the courthouse in down below, you won't be able to do it for a reasonable cost. So you don't have to decide about whether you want to put chambers up there now or use it for other meeting rooms or other offices or whatever, but you need the square footage. So I highly encourage you to pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my back hurts from sitting there so long. My name is Dave Seaver, and I'm a mentor for the Veterans Treatment Court. And I only want to reiterate a few things that Judge has said and what Cindy has said. My views on the Veterans Treatment Court, I mean, it's just kind of my experience. I have a different view of a lot of these folks here. I have a different view of any you people have of the Veterans Treatment Court. I see these guys and gals come in, they're so messed up, they're so out of touch with reality. And through the course of the Veterans Treatment Court, the phases they go through of sobriety and counseling, I see after a period of just 6 months, a complete change in people. It's always to the positive, and like Cindy says, the recidivism is so low. But I want to encourage this council to approve of this courthouse, because I think as I look at these guys and gals that go through the vet court system, a lot of them have these issues other than whatever they're there for, a DUI or domestic violence or whatever it is. They have mental issues. They have drug issues. And if we address these issues for everybody with this new courthouse, we're going to find that we're going to have a healthier community. We're going to find that we're going to save, as Cindy has said, lives. Money is always a problem. Hell, money's a problem in my life. But we're here. Let's do it. Let's get this thing going. Get these specialty courts operating and get this thing done. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council during the public hearing?
Hello, Mayor, Council. I'm Joan McDermott. I am the mentor coordinator for our Veterans Treatment Court, and I have been for the last 8 years. And I can tell you from personal experience that walking behind those walls and seeing how cramped the space is and how difficult it is for people to work in that area, we absolutely need a new courthouse. There is no question about that. And besides that, the fact that the city is growing, we need to look forward, not look at what's happening right now. It's important that we plan for the future so that we're ready as the city grows. And I think, of course, Dave and Cindy and Judge Kalali have all mentioned many of the things that I would have said in regard to the Veterans Treatment Court and the problem-solving courts. I think that establishing a location and a facility where we can actually expand the problem-solving courts will make for healthier citizens and a healthier city by and large. I think we need to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm Terry Geyer, and by profession, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been such over 40-some years, and I have a career that I started in juvenile court, went to adult court, did drug and alcohol, mental health, dual diagnosed. Then I worked for businesses, 150 businesses as an employee's assistance professional. Then I went and worked medical, and now I'm currently with hospice. And I have a heart passion my whole life about kids who get in trouble, adults who get in trouble, and what really causes that. And I am a part of this only because that's where my passion is. And I'd like to invite everyone here to look at this situation a little bit differently. Yes, I am all for a courthouse that can function, because I had to be in a lot of them where you were in the hallway and I got beat up and chased and police had to come because the people didn't like what I had to say in the court. So safety, security costs money. It costs money not to deal with that. I'd like to say, yes, we have a courthouse, but how about thinking about it as a hub for this community where we are close to the police, which you need to have because there are dangerous people, even if they're nice people underneath it all. And you have a place where you could control somebody in a healthy way instead of having that person who's got mental health, drug and alcohol, suicide. I'm a part of the suicide awareness and prevention as well because they're all tied together. We have a building. We could have a hub. And how about bringing the community support systems to these people at the time they need the help? And let somebody assess them. And then with security and with services, get that set up before we send them home if it's at night or on the weekend, or get appointment, or have somebody there that can then say, let me call, make an appointment, and we'll get you hooked up. I worked in a place where all the community services were together. And that's what I did with the mental health. And we had a crisis program as well. And we brought them to the courthouse in order to have a contained area so the counselor could be safe. The police could go do something else, but they'd be right there if you needed it, if something happened. I think I came from Wisconsin originally. I've been here 22 years. So Lake Havasu is my home. I love the views. But we think as cylinders. Even a lot of conversation tonight was cylinder thinking instead of group thinking. You know, we have all these different committees in town, and I'm aware of a lot of them, and I'm very passionate. You got the new committee that you just got all new people for. Well, what a better place to have a hub, have those people help them decide, where does this money go? Who could best benefit? Should it be drug and alcohol? Should it be the suicide? Should it be the youth kids? Instead of everybody trying to take a piece of it, let's put it together and figure out where the money should go. The other question I just want to leave you with is how many, I'd like to ask anybody here, if you have never had the following in your life, raise your hand. Have you ever never experienced anybody who has had drug and alcohol, mental health, suicide, thoughts, prevention, or attempted suicide? Is there anybody here who's never, ever experienced that in their life by a friend, family, themselves, neighbor? Raise your hand if you have not. There's my point. This is a community problem, and this building can be a community building that helps with curing and coordination and caring. And it makes it easier because you're all in the central area to be able to communicate within HIPAA and all that other jazz that goes with stuff, right? So that's all I have to say is my heart is in this. And I think this town, from the day I moved here, needs something like this to at least get us started.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else like to address the council during this public hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council. So we have two things that we're here to do this evening on this particular item. Is one, give direction to staff to continue to proceed with the courthouse, and two, do we want to explore the council chambers and move forward with that additional expense for the council chambers? A couple of my comments or thoughts on this particular item is that we've been working on this a long time. And if you would have asked me in 2019 when the deconsolidation happened that we would have went through the roller coaster we went through, I would have told you there would be no way. But the council members, my colleagues are correct. We went from $3.5 million to $7.5 million originally to $3.5 million to now 5.1. We've gone through a variety of different starts and stops. And one of the most successful, in my opinion, was doing the CMAR to bring on the contractor now so that we knew what the costs were going to be. Our next action on this would be in September, according to our report this evening, where we'll have that actual cost. cost that's involved. So it's a locked-in cost for 100% build out on whatever direction we give this evening. We're able to do this within budgeted funds in the budget that we just adopted. So we adopted the budget. Those funds are in there. There is no debt financing. We're not looking out to take out a loan. We have the money set aside in the budget to go ahead and move forward with this. We also will have the additional operational cost savings. We currently pay money at the county facility, a monthly rent and expenses. Those will no longer be paid to the county, and we'll be able to use those operational expenses or operational costs will then be put to use in our own facility, but still paying for security and electricity and all of those things that you do. But we'll also have the cost savings operationally. So we think about the courthouse and Judge Kalali is the face of that and all of these great volunteers that have a role in that as well. But we don't think about the other components that happen. Before they even go to court, the police department visited them somehow. And they were taken to potentially our jail. And then our jail folks visited them somehow. They then had an arraignment when they saw the judge, which at that point, Ms. Gary and her office from the prosecutor, they are involved now, and there's a prosecutor involved. So there's lots of different components, and by being all on the same campus up here, we're able to do this. And certainly the cost is expensive, but it's a commercial building with enhanced security. And the judge had mentioned to us the AOC, that's the Arizona Supreme Court. We don't have the ability to alter what their requirements are at our level, but we do have to comply with them. And so we do have a unique opportunity to do what's right for our community and allow us to operationally give the flexibility to this council and Judge Kalali to offer additional treatment courts, which will lower the recidivism rate, which means lower the amount of visits that the police officers have to do, the amount of prosecutors. Now, all that will not just go away because our population is growing as well. So we're seeing additional caseloads, but we'll actually be able to treat the root cause of whatever is on or causing these issues for our citizens, therefore saving money for our taxpayers in the long run. So, the cost is difficult to swallow, not so surprising because we've had multiple hearings here, but we're looking at about a $375 per square foot. I mean, I know a lot of people do cost comparisons on square foot on when they purchase homes or build things or do this. I don't know if that's outrageous for a commercial building with security specifications that are so specific from the Arizona Supreme Court. And I think staff has done a great job on cutting different areas that they can. But this is, it's needed for our community. We don't have a courthouse currently. I do support moving forward with the courthouse. When it comes to the council chambers, Chief Doyle has been very gracious to allow us to use this training room of theirs. There's times that we come into here and we have to erase the board because there's tactical information that they're working on that we don't want the bad people to see. And so, but it's not just the council chambers that use this. All of our boards, committees, and commissions use this. We have coffee with the mayor and city manager in here. Tonight, for a fairly minimal agenda, we had standing room only. We didn't have enough seating for all of our citizens. So I don't think that if we are on our own, if I just set the council chambers aside for a second, or excuse me, the courthouse aside for a second and said, hey, let's build a council chambers. And that was the direction of this council. I don't think we could do that for $1 million in today's market. And so I would consider moving forward with the council chambers as well. There is not an opportunity, one, to do it for that cost. And once we get started, if we don't do it, as one of the speakers had mentioned during call to the public or during the public hearing, we can't go back and add a second story at a later date and impact the operational flow. The most cost-effective time to do it, if we want to do it, is now. Those are my thoughts. Obviously, we have to give direction to the staff this evening. So any other comments from members of the council? Councilman Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. One, I like the judge's comment that there's 28,000 visitors. I don't think they would visit there if they had a choice. Moving forward, absolutely. In my opinion, we need to move forward. We needed to move forward 3 years ago when this city first formed, and we should have built a courthouse then, but we didn't. To your comment, Mr. Mayor, we're not borrowing any money to do this. We've set aside money to do this. So let's do it. We're doing it bare bones. My other comment, this has to do with the city council chambers building out over there. as you said, Mayor, and as some of our speakers said, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. We borrowed this room 25 years ago, and we're still borrowing it. But it's more than that. We don't need to build a courthouse for what we need today. We need to make sure that we're building this courthouse for what we need in the future, moving forward. 20 years from now, where are we going to be? In 20 years from now, we're going to need a third courtroom. That council chambers is the third courtroom. So what in my thoughts, we can build that council chambers now. When it's needed as a third courtroom, the council that comes after us later can build a council chamber somewhere, a council maybe connected to City Hall, and then that becomes a permanent courtroom, because that's going to happen in the future. So building that out now, using that as a courtroom, as a council chambers, now it becomes a courtroom later. And so 20 years from now, when our police department is arresting more people and our city prosecutor is prosecuting more people, we have the space to be able to do that. And we have to think forward to the future and what we need in the future. So for $1 million, being able to build out that third courtroom now so that they have it in the future, absolutely, it's fiscal responsibility to our taxpayers. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Yeah, Councilmember Koch.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick comments. It's definitely not a popular topic to spend this kind of money, and it never is. But it's also not acceptable to our citizens to not have a courthouse where we can get the business of the court done in a timely manner. We've been talking about this for a long time, and it's unfortunate it has to be so expensive. But the longer we wait, I just think that the more expensive it's going to get. And the longer we put this off, the less due diligence we're doing for our citizens. So, and I agree. I think if we don't move forward with that second story now, it's not going to get done either. So I would be in support of both.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Camp.
I have no problem with the courthouse. I am just concerned about the parking. I'm concerned about the traffic on Acoma. I'm concerned about the 1 bathrooms upstairs. I'm concerned about the 1 elevator just in case of an emergency. These are my concerns. And I'm concerned that later, if we have maintenance problems, we might have roof issues, this issue, that issue. We have parking issues, I believe, already. If I could pick up this courthouse and build it like we originally planned, that was right, on 1 story, that makes all sense, that's completely not trying to retrofit something in. Ironically, we spent this much time on plans, but we moved pretty far on plans. We're only doing interior. If you took that and just built it out a little bit better, added the council chambers on the main floor, looked at the parking. We have far better parking over here than we do over there, and the traffic over there is very concerning. I know we bought the building. I know we had great intention. I don't think anybody up here thought it was going to cost as much to retrofit it, that we are. But again, here we are. I think we could probably sell that building to something else that would be feasible. I can tell already up here, I don't have the vote, but I want to sit here and let you guys all know that I truly appreciate everything the courthouse does. And I truly support everything you guys have done in the last 2 years. You've done some great, great stuff. And I trust you 100%. I just wish that I was giving you a nice, brand new, shiny building that had good parking, good bathrooms, and didn't have an elevator and had better security. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Campbell. You did bring up a point that I have a question. Is it just 1 elevator or is it 2 elevators?
It's just 1 elevator.
1 elevator, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions. Are there any stairs going up, or does everything have to go up to the elevator?
No, there's a public staircase, and then there's also an emergency exit stair. So there's 2 stairs and 1 elevator.
Okay. The other question is, I see from the Google Maps there is a pathway that connects the courthouse up to our upper parking lot. It looked like that's concrete. Is that already there?
I mean, it's a pathway that's somewhat improved, but it's not.
It's not concrete, or it's not.
No,
okay.
And it's not part of this project. The wash crossing through there is not improved. So, but it is a future connection point for sure.
Okay. Is there a way to connect these 2 parking lots with a pathway up there?
Potentially in the future, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we looked at that one on the route that, or earlier in the conceptual design, there was a couple proposals that looked at how that could be connected.
when do we, maybe that's also for the city manager as well, when do we want to consider looking at that as well? Connecting maybe the parking lots would free up some of the traffic issues and also give staff access to be able to come back and forth. Is that something we should be looking at now, or how far in the future are we going to look at that?
Yeah, no, there's lots of things that we'd like to do. Based on these conversations, we're trying to do our best to pare this back to the basics and the fundamentals of being able to provide a courthouse functions, and for the judge to expand the specialty courts at that location. In an ideal situation, we'd love to close off that access to off of Bunker. That's the intersection that does off of Acoma, right across from Bunker. So you have an exit off of a parking lot right across from a street that's coming onto Acoma. You have a hill there's a blind when you come down that area. You couldn't put up a four-way stop sign there because we'd have rear end collisions that would occur because of that the close proximity of that hill to that area. Is it needed? Yeah, and we'd love to take a look at that. The connection then could be from City Hall. We already have a sidewalk that connects the two parking lots. I think the idea from Judge Kalali is that the court staff would park in the City Hall parking lot and then take the sidewalk down to that exists right now down to the courthouse. But if council is saying that these are things that are important as part of the project, I just need to understand what the will of the council is. You tell me what you want to accomplish and give me a roundabout budget to move forward with, and we'll make that happen. So I just need to know what that is.
Because I believe that's something that could solve the parking issues for the future. At least it would be good for us to know what that would cost. Correct. Or tie it to another project of some sort. And then my other question too is the shell of the second floor is already included in this, right? The 5.1 million, it's just the shell. This is just the build out of that.
Yes, that's correct.
And nothing personal, but do we need everybody's? Couldn't we just have Selberg draw some plans for an upper level and we throw up some walls and do we still have to go through this level of design of such? We know it looks like a great layout, but it's also fairly simple. If you look at this room, other than the chairs, you have the dais, but on the electronics and all that stuff, but that stuff we do anyway. Is the 1 million, could that be a little more efficient if we do it a little bit differently? Councilmember Dolan, Anthony, can I put you on the spot and can I ask you a couple of questions in terms of just when we talk about a few walls put up and so when we go into the CMAR process, we brought FCI on board. He represents the general contractor. At the end of the day, when we enter into a guaranteed maximum price and that contract gets signed, if the costs exceed the price, it's this gentleman that's paying for it out of his personal paycheck.
That's right.
This is the gentleman that knows the prices, knows the quotes. He's done an excellent job as part of this process to bring the estimates in. But can you talk a little bit about, so we're not talking about just walls, we're talking about duct and electrical and all the things that are tied with that construction of that council chambers? Is that okay, Mr.?
Yeah, definitely. And as far as construction goes, the base bid is doing all the shell. So this 1 million would be the actual build out. It's including all the electrical infrastructure, the mechanical upgrades, all the finishes, as you mentioned, the new dice, all the restroom facilities, everything that you would need is totally included in that. And that's using subcontractor participation. We're going to get 3 quotes for every single trade that's applicable. And almost every single one of them is going to be based here in Lake Havasu. So the budgets that's representing is using those subcontractor inputs, local subcontractor participation as far as cost for the design portion goes. I know DFTG and the sub-consultants have all put quite a bit of effort already into that design. What they showed today was just the floor plan, but we do have electrical plans and mechanical plans and plumbing plans that are the legwork kind of getting in. They still have to be refined. That's what this design cost would be to button those all up. But as far as the design cost goes, that would be more of a DFTG question.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Mayor, if I can, real quickly, and Vice Mayor Dolan, can I, Anthony, in terms of the development of that council chambers, is there a wiggle room on that number? At what point do we? We can't sacrifice the functionality and the feel of a council chambers, but we have these conversations, right? Yep. As a project team, but we don't have these conversations in the public. So there's maybe some insight on there in terms of what that looks like.
Sure. Yeah. So right now, the finishes wise, it's going to match everything that's on the first floor. So using the carpet tile, the restrooms would be the polished concrete floor with the tile backsplash at those bathrooms on the second floor, and you'd have the new casework inside. There's right now we got an escalation factor in there to cover for the next couple months of escalation up until our September GMP, and that GMP, as was mentioned, that's a guaranteed maximum price. So the price would give you anything that does go over that, we eat. And then anything that's saved from that, we return the savings back to the city. So we're not going to be keeping it. It's all going to go back to you, and everything's open book. All the bids that we get, we're going to be presenting and showing you. So we're not hiding anything. We're not trying to pocket any money on the side. It's going to be fully transparent. That's how we are. We're trustworthy, hardworking, and honest and professional. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell, do you have a follow-up question to that?
Are we getting new air conditioning systems for this? Or are we using?
Yep.
We are. Okay,
Yep.
great.
From the current design, they analyzed it, and it's an old system, and so it's being completely redone. It's going to be a fully new, functional, new HVAC system.
Excellent. That was one of my huge concerns. Another thing is the parking lot, are we repaving it or concrete, or doing anything to the parking lot, or are we leaving it as it is?
Right now, in the budget, we have restriping it. There's nothing currently factored into the budget to reseal it or repave it at this time.
And maybe somebody else can let me know, are we doing anything on that corner there for security or safety of the amount of people that are going to be coming and going off of Tacoma?
Currently, the plan is the entrance remains at this spot. We're not doing any infrastructure to the intersection itself, any upgrades to that intersection.
So we don't have to expand on any turning lanes or anything else?
So I can elaborate briefly. I don't have all the information yet. We did include a traffic study as part of our scope, and it's in process right now. So I don't have the results yet, but we are doing a traffic study to find out what, if anything, needs to be done, and it is going out several intersections away from our location. So when we have that information.
That could be an additional add-on then for us for safety purposes?
If the traffic study result says, we really recommend you do something, we'll present it to the staff and they'll let you know if there's expenses that we recommend or not.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I do recall one of these sessions about the courthouse that we talked about parking and ingress and egress out of there. And when it was used for a fitness center, there were high volumes at certain times that people came for either group fitness classes or otherwise, or came right after work or right before work, having a large traffic flow in and out at a particular time. Excuse me, the function of a court are usually onesies and twosies coming in at a time. So it's not that many people, unless you're talking about potentially a jury trial. And now I'm way outside of my realm. But that's as far as what the flow of that traffic is. That was just a conversation we had at one of these sessions we had over the last couple of years. So just to add to some of the comments about that intersection or that driveway.
Well, we come here about, 5 o'clock or for 6 o'clock for our city council meetings. And if there's 128 plus, because we had people standing room only here, that's a lot of cars coming in and out during one of the peak times of day that Tacoma is being used. And I'm not trying to be difficult here. I want to eliminate any future problems so that we can continue to fund and budget and not have any strange, mysterious issues later, like we're already talking about. Okay, the parking, or maybe we're going to have to put in another lane. Maybe we're going to have to do a bridge over now for parking. Then what's going to happen? It's just going to keep shrinking the budget and taking it away from the citizens that so desperately need it. That's who we should be focusing. I don't want, roofs going out and air conditioning issues. I'm so glad that we have all new air conditioning stuff. So basically, we're going to spend a lot more money on maintenance, which is fine. It's for the citizens. But I just have to ask these questions because we get asked the same things all the time.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate your foresight, and I think some of the conversation that we've had here this evening is good. We can give direction to staff to come back and also give us a parking lot plan and how do we connect two of the parking lots together. But when we say these things, just know that they have consequences. So these are great questions, but there's a cost involved, and the reason we're here is because
Michelle told me to ask that question, just to clarify.
Yeah, so the cost is down. So, I mean, it's a fine conversation to have, but we just have to realize that we set it and gave that direction. So then when it comes back, we have to be open-minded to whatever that number is going to be. If we want to connect the parking lots, which I don't disagree, I think it's a very forward-thinking item to address now, we need to know there's a cost associated with that. So when it comes back in front of us, we need to be able to support that effort if it's reasonable in what that cost is going to be to be able to move this project forward. That's all I would caution on that. So quickly, so we can get an understanding. You had some comments, Vice Mayor. I'm still just understanding you supportive of moving forward.
Yes,
and
moving forward.
council chambers.
For the discussion at the next meeting with a little more information. Yes,
Yeah, council chambers will be coming back with an agreement for our consideration at that time is what our direction will be.
Yes.
Okay. And then Councilmember Lynn?
I personally don't support the second floor at this time.
Okay. And you do support the moving of the courthouse?
I still have a lot of concerns. I really have concerns because of seeing the roller coaster of numbers. I really, really have concerns with it. So I'm not sure how I feel right now.
Right. And again, in September, we'll have that guaranteed price, which is, but we can't get there without giving direction tonight. So we have to hit this step to get the next step. Councilmember Moses, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fine moving forward with the courthouse. I like the design, and I'd like to see the second floor built out. I really kind of want to explore that. There's some cost savings to do it now, and Councilman Lane made a great point that it may be a council chambers now, but one day it will 100% be our third courthouse, and I think it's just it's forward thinking. Will save our taxpayers money in the long run.
Great. Thank you for your comments. So I believe we have a consensus of the council to move forward with what was presented this evening and to bring back at the July 12th meeting to proceed with the design of the second floor. Now, does you need any additional information from us on that piece?
We're good.
Perfect. I do have, to see if there's consensus, I would like to explore with the connection of the parking lot so we can address this now. Is that the consensus of the council to explore that opportunity?
I would go a little bit further. I would explore ripping out the grass or wherever it was supposed to be and actually put in extra parking if that's a consideration as well. Because I see out here, we're not even maintaining we haven't maintained this building for a long time. It needs a lot of help. The parking lots look pretty rough out there too. I'm just saying, I don't know where all this money is coming from, but if we're going to do it, we might as well just start looking at it all if we're going to make this campus all united as one.
You're talking about the grass adjacent to this parking lot.
Is it wherever we were going to put this courthouse? I mean, wherever we were originally going to put the courthouse.
Okay, I understand. Yes, absolutely. So I think I'm good with that.
Because when we have that all functioning with employees from the whole courthouse sitting out here now, plus city council member meetings and everything else, while we're ripping and tearing and adding bridges, it just makes sense to me to be doing two things at once. I mean, let's look at the whole campus from above and make it all feasible and working and not kind of working, because I do think that parking lot's going to be concerning, getting people in and out of there at certain times.
Yeah, I don't
and even
disagree.
if we have to close it off and have everybody go someplace else to park for safety reasons, these are the things I worry about.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So the rest of the council, are you guys comfortable with giving direction to staff to bring back a parking lot plan of some sort?
Yes.
And Councilmember Moses?
I mean, I don't know how we got. I got good at that. How we got just putting back there campuses, but wouldn't it make this decision once we get the traffic study back?
Yeah, it's just giving the kind of the overall direction of the council as that traffic study comes together that they can start moving in that direction should that warrant it. That we don't have to come back and have a specific discussion about that because they already will move in that direction should that be the case. But good point.
Then in that case, if the traffic study comes back and then yeah, 100% I'm willing to tackle that.
Okay, perfect. All right, I think you have enough information there, Mr. Knudsen.
Mr. Mayor, I have one other question. Are we going to at any time talk about like the furnishing of it? Like, are we going to talk about, because I like to see what that number looks like what it is to
Sure, that
furnish
is.
it out.
So in the previous conversations we've had, I believe that was going to be during our budget discussions next year. which start in already 6 months or 7 months. We'll be having those discussions. But yeah, I mean, I think that'll be all part of the process. But
it's easier for me to make a decision knowing what that total cost is.
Sure.
Because I feel like this, I think my issue is every time we come back, there's something and then take something away and then something. And I would like to see what the whole picture looks like. When I do a project, I give myself the ultimate and then I add 20% to that. I want to see what that top number is. So
I know the greatest news in the whole world is when we all do our own projects, we only have to answer to ourselves. And so there are 7 of us, all with different ideas, trying to give direction to staff, reporting to 57,000 people. So it's not quite that easy, but point well taken. I think that we can start putting together some estimates of what that might look like for future discussions. All right. Well, thank you for that robust conversation. That'll conclude our conversation on item 8.11. Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Thank you, Chad and Anthony. And thank you for the work group that has been involved, and Judge Kalali for your work on that. We'll now move on to item 9 is current events. Do we have any council committee reports? All right. Item.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Councilmember Lynn.
I have been on the WACOG board, executive board for I don't know how many years, on and off. And I had reached out to our city manager, and I'm not sure how the whole process works. I tried to get some direction from the WACOG directors on where our money right now is allocated, but I'd like to know if there's a way that we can discuss that, explore, if we can better use of the money that they have available in our community. So I'm not sure what that looks like, if that's something that the city manager and I can talk about with that, or if that's with the board themselves. But I'm sitting on this board for hours and nothing's coming back to Lake Havasu. So I kind of like, why am I even here? Like, if we're not even getting any kind of return from them that I'm seeing, because every report I read is Yuma or Kingman. And I'm like, well, why does Lake Havasu even have a place here? So I'm concerned what that looks like and if we're getting the best benefit from WACOG.
Perfect.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think if you are comfortable as the liaison for WACOG, if you want to meet with Mr. Knutson, formalize a plan. And if you need my involvement, you'll have my support as well to move forward. And if we need to have a council item, we can do that in the future as well.
Yeah. And I discussed it with Jess. So we've had this. I just wanted to make it known that it was just kind of an issue that I saw. I don't know if anybody else was on that board and saw that I'm feeling neglected over here.
Very good.
Councilmember Lynn, I also spent a year on that board as well, and there is a lot of funding out there, and I just wonder how
it has to be a council committee report, so you have to be the liaison.
Okay,
to
sorry,
get the report,
take it away.
From that. Okay, I'm sorry.
She asked me a question.
Yeah, no, you have to be the liaison to give the update for the agenda purposes.
Supporting whatever she wants to do.
Thank you. Any other council committee reports? All right. Future meetings are Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll have a regular meeting, and we'll also have our property tax levy adoption. And then on Tuesday, July 26th, 2022 at 6 p.m., we'll have a regular meeting. Item 11, are there any future discussion items?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
And this does not have to be now. This doesn't have to be next year, but sometime between now and the next election cycle. When you drive around town, there are numerous illegal campaign signs all over the city. We have an ordinance in this town on the way we do campaign signs. There's a lot of violations, and we need to give staff better direction on how to take those signs down and get rid of them. And so I would like to have a discussion on that in the future. It's too late for this campaign cycle, but sometime over the next 2 years, I would definitely like to address that issue, because these illegal signs just make our whole city look trashy. So thank you.
I'd like to second that, but I'd like to see maybe we can get an update from the city manager on what we're doing about it, because we have it on the code and it's not supposed to be in certain areas, and we have people coming from out of town putting up signs and blatantly ignoring our rules, and we have signs that don't have committee
information. We're getting kind of really close to the line, but maybe we
can get an update on what the city's doing, because we should be enforcing it, and if we're not, maybe we can just get maybe at the next meeting, just get some information about.
Well, I think the motion that we have is for a future meeting within the next 2 years. The second would have been to that. Or Councilmember Campbell. All right, so we have that item. And is there any additional future discussion items?
for future discussion items, can we maybe get an update from the city on what we're going to do about these signs? Because we should have rules, we enforce them, or we shouldn't have rules, so.
Sure. Would it be
like-
sufficient to have that as part of the city manager report at our next council meeting?
It'd be nice to have a little back and forth, but I mean, they're in places there shouldn't be. We have people coming from out of town putting up signs all over our city, and we have rules in place. I'd just like to know what we're doing about it too, because we've called some of those people and from out of town.
Again, we're so close to that line. I'm so sorry. We're so close to that line. Yeah.
But maybe we can get an uptate on why we're not enforcing.
Okay.
Or what we can do to enforce code.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a second now, okay?
Okay. So, well, you know what you need, Mr. Knudsen? Okay.
You have enough direction? You don't need anything else from me?
Yeah. I think we very closely had the whole conversation. So, all right. Any other future discussion items? All right. Motion to adjourn? All right.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here in Vacation Local Government. Be kind. We'll see you next time.